Chapter 51. Although she had already seen from Erwin's actions, Erwin's strength was not weak. But she didn't expect that Erwin's magic power could be so powerful and the spells he issued could be so powerful. Even the iron armor curse she had practiced through actual combat could not completely eliminate the power of Erwin's disarming curse. Erwin didn't stop. The wand continued to shake. Another disarming spell was shot. Charlotte ran quickly to the side. Erwin responded in the same way. There are many obstacles. In front of Erwin, two vines suddenly grew up, just in the way of his movement. Erwin frowned. This is the disadvantage of not having enough magic spells to master. Now Erwin only has two choices. The first is to get rid of the vines. Another option is to turn around and change direction. However, Charlotte had no intention of giving Erwin a chance to choose. All petrified, the magic spell flew out of the wand in Charlotte's hand. The target was right behind Erwin. If Erwin turned around and changed direction now, he would directly collide with the petrification spell. Erwin marvels at Charlotte's combat experience. Have no choice. Erwin couldn't care less about hiding his clumsiness. The divine edge is shadowless, aiming at the vines in front of him. The next moment, above the vines, seemingly transparent sharp blades suddenly appeared. Cut the vines straight through. Erwin slipped through the vines. The little wizards around were stunned. What spell is this? The shadowless blade? I seem to have read a book. This seems to be a spell invented by Professor Snape. I think I heard someone say it, but this spell is very dangerous. I didn't expect Erwin to have mastered it now. Slytherin's little wizards were also a little jealous at this time. The Shinfeng Wuing are all pure blood, so they have naturally heard of the name Shinfeng Wuing. Snape's signature curse. Charlotte was also a little surprised by Erwin's move. Even the attack rhythm stopped briefly. Several professors were also a little surprised and turned to look at Snape. Professor McGonagall said with a cold face, "Snape, although Erwin is excellent, but you should not teach him such a high-risk spell at this time." Snape said nothing. In fact, he was also a little confused. Although, he recorded Shinfeng Wuing spell and the method of casting it in his diary. However, this is something from the back, and Erwin shouldn't see it so soon. Is it possible that Erwin was jumping to watch it? Professor McGonagall said, "I think we should stop this battle. Shinfeng Wuing is too dangerous." Snape said, "No, this is Slytherin's rule. The fighting cannot be stopped. Moreover, there is a counter curse in Shinfeng Wuing. It will be fine. Erwin himself knows it, and he will not use this spell to deal with Charlotte. Otherwise, he would have taken action just now." After hearing this, Professor McGonagall didn't insist. She cares about the students, but this is indeed Slytherin's rule. No one can interfere. Moreover, she believed in Erwin. After Erwin dodged Charlotte's attack, the movements of his hands did not stop. Another disarming spell was fired, but Charlotte had expected it. Get out of the way in advance. Just then, Erwin keenly sensed a crisis coming from behind. Erwin subconsciously used Shinfeng Wuing. The moment of turning around, a section of the originally broken vine was split into two in front of Erwin, flying towards the sides of Erwin's body. Erwin was startled. What's going on? Erwin looked at Charlotte. Charlotte looked disappointed. Erwin thought for a moment. Suddenly, levitation spell. This Charlotte has actually mastered the silent floating spell. Did he control the broken vine to hit him? What a terrifying combat experience. However, since Charlotte did not succeed, then it's Erwin's turn. Erwin flicked his wrist and prepared to attack. But at this moment, Charlotte actually put away her wand. Make a fist with your right hand and place it on your chest. I surrender. Erwin's movements suddenly stopped. Charlotte smiled and said, I lost. My junior will not be stingy and attack me again. I am very afraid of pain. Erwin frowned. Why? Charlotte said, I don't have much magic power left. All the attacks have been neutralized by my junior, so it's useless to continue fighting. I can't avoid my junior's disarming spell now. Moreover, you have mastered the divine blade Shadowless. If I had used it from the beginning, I would not have been able to dodge that imperceptible attack. So, I lost from the beginning. There is no need to continue fighting. I don't want to perform a trapeze. Erwin looked at Charlotte. There were some doubts in my heart. Charlotte's expression remained unchanged. With a smile on his face, well, congratulations. From now on, you will also be our 4th grade prefect. Of course, this requires you to defeat several other people. I am optimistic about you as the future prefect. Erwin bowed slightly. Thank you, senior. Charlotte smiled and returned directly to the Slytherin student lineup. But at this moment, the eyes of the little wizards around looked at Charlotte had changed. Fear, fear, envy. Charlotte successfully proved her strength. At least the connection of the magic spell, the casting speed, and the silent floating spell are not something ordinary people can do. Erwin turned to look at Marcus Flint, who had an ugly expression on his side. Senior, let's meet at noon tomorrow. Marcus paused. Then he snorted coldly and turned to leave. He just watched the battle and already discovered it. Neither Charlotte nor Erwin could be defeated by him. Therefore, he now has to think of any way to keep his position as a hidden superior. Erwin raised the corners of his mouth. He has not forgotten how Marcus, the idiot, provoked him in the first place. Find the opportunity now. Only if Erwin can let him go is there a ghost. Glodia came to Erwin. I didn't expect you to control Shinfeng Wuiying. It surprises me. It seems that I am your opponent. Erwin said, the senior is joking. I can still feel some of the senior's strength. I just don't know when I stand in front of the senior. Will the senior take action with all his strength? I'm really curious about the senior's true nature. Strength. Glodia smiled and said, you will see it. Erwin looked at Glodia, and the two looked at each other and smiled. If anyone else had seen the performance of the two people, they would never have guessed that these two people were going to face off soon. Instead, they would have been close friends. After the battle ended, the surrounding students also left one after another. But at this moment, a black bat floated in front of Erwin. Come with me. Chapter 52. Looking through the comments, I saw some questions from you good brothers. Let me explain them one by one. First of all, the eagle sauce thing. This is indeed my problem. The thing is like this. That day, I had a whim and wanted to write a book about Hogwarts fan, and then I wanted to call this country, but I couldn't remember what the code for ing was. I vaguely thought of eagle sauce. Then when I came to my senses the next day, I suddenly didn't feel right. Yes, I was afraid of missing something that I didn't change when I changed it, so I didn't change it at all. The second one is the Cavendi family. Some readers have guessed it. It is modeled after a real family, and of course it is the top family in reality. It's just that I've revised it a bit. After all, coming up with a foreign name is really not an easy and pleasant thing. Oh yes, there are also typos. I usually code after work, and there are 2 other books to write, so sometimes I write soon. There will be typos. Brothers, point them out when you find them. I will correct them as soon as possible. There is also a question about female protagonists. Let's open a vote. Readers can write if they want multiple girls, single girls, or no girls. Finally, I wish all readers to be knocked on the glass by an owl as soon as possible. Although I have passed my age, a green light will travel around the world. Erwin spread his hands. Yes, our dear Bat Professor is here. Although, Erwin had a premonition when he used Chu Shun Feng Wuiying. But Snape really came looking for him. Erwin still felt frightened. Admittedly, Snape treated him very well. But, please note, that's Snape. Erwin was brave, but he was not brave enough to ignore Snape. As we all know, there are only 2 people at Hogwarts who cannot be offended. The first one, our dear Poppy Pomfrey. Because your safety is in her hands, let's just say that Hogwarts, this magical school, comes with its share of crises. What about playing Quidditch or practicing spells? All are dangerous. Not to mention, among these dangers, there are some people who like to forcibly add dangers to you. Like the Weasley troublemaker duo. And the other person is Snape. If you offend Snape, he will let you know what it means to blatantly wear small shoes. Erwin followed Snape directly to the office. Snape waved his sleeve. The office door is immediately closed. Erwin's eyes lit up. Oh, automatic sensor door. Nice one. Snape sat in a chair. Tell me, when did you practice Shinfeng Wuiying? Erwin scratched his head. Last night? Snape said. Last night, you just got my diary. Did you jump to read it? Erwin quickly shook his head. That's not the case. My memory is good. So, I wrote down a lot of content. Later, I will slowly digest the content. This is my way of reading. So, I turned to the spell you left behind. I tried to practice it. Snape said. How long have you been practicing? Erwin hesitated and said, 10 minutes? 20 minutes? Or an hour? It's all possible. Snape's face darkened. Every word in these words smelled like a lie. But Snape also understood one thing. That's because it really didn't take Erwin long to learn this spell. Snape snorted coldly. Don't be complacent just because of your achievements. It's not a big deal to learn spells quickly. Erwin nodded quickly. The office door is now closed tightly. Of course it was what Snape said. Even if Snape said he was Merlin, Erwin would nod without hesitation. Yes, yes, you are right. You are Merlin's father. Snape was very satisfied to see Erwin being so knowledgeable. Look, how good this student is. Much more pleasing to the eye than Potter. It's also Harry Potter who has those green eyes. Otherwise, Snape would really let this old friend know what true cruelty is. Of course, it's cruel now. At least that's what Erwin thinks. But it seems that with Snape, he felt that he had not exerted his strength to become a terrifying man. Snape said, in the future, use Shinfeng wooing less. After all, it is essentially a black magic. Although it does not need to fill your heart with negative emotions like other black magic. But it is too lethal. No suitable for you to use in battles with students. Erwin nodded. I understand, Professor. However, my mastery of magic spells is very small. There is no way to use it today. Shinfeng wooing. Erwin felt that what he said was obvious. His attitude was also clearly expressed. Just 2 words, please give me advice. Having said that, the normal development of the plot should be that Snape gives Erwin a small start, and then teaches him a bunch of magic spells. Just save the cost of Erwin's lottery. It's wonderful to think about it. Erwin was ready to be fed. Is he a student? He learns things from professors without being arrogant. However, Snape gave Erwin a meaningful look. Don't play tricks on me. I won't teach you any magic spells in private before you finish the prefect challenge. You discovered Shinfeng wooing on your own, and my original intention was to teach you how to handle magic potions. Even better, that's all for helping me with my work. This is the rule. You have to use your own strength to get to that position. Erwin scratched his head. Why does Slytherin have so many rules? How outrageous. Erwin asked. Professor, I'm curious, who set these rules? Snape said, Salazar Slytherin, the founder of Slytherin, one of the 4 giants of Hogwarts. You should know what the foundation of Slytherin House is. You should also have heard of Sarah. Check out Slytherin's attitude towards little wizards. In his opinion, wizards need to improve themselves step by step, and only the strong can survive. Therefore, when Salazar Slytherin was around, Slytherin it's like a coliseum. Only the strong can dominate everything. Erwin was a little surprised. Good guy. This ancestor of the wizarding world is a bit outrageous. No wonder he was ostracized by the other big 3. Isn't this just pure cultivation of goo? However, the effect is really good. Students who come out of Slytherin have much stronger fighting abilities than those from the other 3 houses. Although, many strong people here can only live in their memories and cannot read books. It can only be said that there are gains and losses. This method of cultivating goo in school creates strong people. After leaving school, you can't help but take up this habit. Interest comes first, and the strong will always be strong. Chapter 53. After looking at everyone's thoughts, this heroine thing, everyone's taste is really different. Let's see, during the Hogwarts period, what age is it? It's too young. I'm a bit bored and can't make a move. I'll temporarily put everyone together. The female character you like should be positioned as a retinue. Later, she will become a helper of the Cavendi family. As for whether to push it or not, let's wait until she grows up. She must be in 6th or 7th grade at least. Also, I saw some readers saying that this licking Hermione's thing. Where did you see the licking? Any questions? Please. Maybe there is something wrong with my writing. So I didn't write it clearly. It's true that the protagonist is positioned as a leader in the dark world. But consider a question. This is British England. Answer all questions just because the protagonist's accomplishments are nothing more than that. This is a courtesy. This should be understood by educated people who have gone to school. Just ask me about my best brother. Can I let my younger siblings come to my house for dinner in the evening? My brother asked me to hurry up and have a meal. This is a response. In addition, the typos pointed out by readers have been corrected. It took me a lot of time to look for them. Yes, I am AI. Erwin nodded. Okay, Professor, I understand. Snape thought for a moment and asked, have you ever had a problem with Marcus Flint, a 5th-year student? Erwin said, it's not like there's anything wrong with him. It's just that he's not polite. And he's too ugly. Snape spent several minutes without thinking about the reason for being ugly. He began to wonder if he was getting old and could no longer keep up with the thinking of the new generation of little wizards. Snape said, don't go too far. The fight between the hidden prefects is too harsh and will not be good for you. Erwin smiled and said, of course. Professor, don't worry, I am a very easygoing person. In fact, I don't like to use force with people. I prefer to influence them. Of course, if he can't listen to my reason, I don't mind helping him. After all, isn't strength just to make others listen to you better? This was the first time Snape heard this statement. Taste it. Something feels wrong, but it makes sense somehow. Waved his hand. Okay, go have a rest, and don't be late for the afternoon class. If you deduct points from Slytherin for being late, you understand the consequences. Erwin spread his hands. Of course. The professor has said this before. Erwin turned to leave. At this moment, Snape said, Erwin, if you have the ability, take the position of prefect. Believe me, your gains will far exceed your imagination. Slytherin prefects, so many rules, so many complex challenge mechanism. It's not just as simple as a status. Erwin paused at his feet, the corners of his mouth raised. Don't worry, Professor. If Slytherin needs a hidden prefect, his name must be Cavendi. Erwin opened the door and left the office. Snape looked at Erwin's leaving figure. There was a moment of hesitation. Like, so similar. 11 years ago, another Cavendi left his office in the same way. High-spirited and exuding confidence. Unfortunately, that person never came back. Erwin left Snape's office and walked towards the Slytherin common room. Keep your hands? It's impossible to keep your hands. Not only will he not hold back, Erwin will also teach Marcus a lesson that will never be forgotten. Erwin never thought of himself as a vengeful person. However, he is a fair person. If others have a good attitude towards him, Erwin will also have a good attitude in return. But if someone offends him, Erwin will use all means to teach the other person an unforgettable lesson. This should be considered fair. Well, maybe. And there is another important point. As a person with 9 years of compulsory education, he learned a very practical little trick. This little trick is called giving both grace and power. A blindly good temper will only make others think that this person is kind. Maybe someone will follow a person because he is kind. However, while being kind, you must also be dignified and make others fear you. Respect, fear, combined together, that word is called dead-hearted. Fortunately, he now has a good target for him to establish his authority. Poor little steel-toothed prince. Being caught typically results in a head-on blow. After returning to the lounge, there were many little wizards gathered in the lobby of the lounge. At this time, everyone was talking excitedly about Erwin's battle just now. After all, for these little wizards, this is their only source of conversation. How pitiful, not even having to talk about gossip. The lounge door opens. Erwin walked in. The lounge instantly became quiet. Several students were sitting on the sofa. Saw Erwin coming. Stand up quickly. Get out of the way. Erwin was not polite either. Sit on the couch. He pressed his hands and said, Sit down, everyone. Don't be so nervous. I don't eat people. Are the books ready? Class starts in an hour. Haven't you all taken a break? Several young wizards were originally afraid of Erwin's strength. After hearing what Erwin said, he became bolder. Prefect, we are all ready. We will not embarrass Slytherin. We are not those stupid lions. Erwin smiled, chatted with these little wizards for a while. That's called being close to the people. On the way to the History of Magic classroom, Erwin praised himself mentally. Sure enough, I am really excellent, not only powerful, but also friendly to the people. Sure enough, there is no doubt that I am decent. However, at this moment, a system beep sounded suddenly. Erwin's figure suddenly froze on the spot. Ding! The host's current reputation in Slytherin has been detected, which perfectly matches the setting of the Dark Lord. The reward title is now the 4th Generation Dark Lord Reserve. Wearing this title will increase the majesty by 20%, and the power of black magic will be enhanced 20%. Dear Lord Dark Lord, please work hard to become a regular. All of Hogwarts will be your subjects. Erwin's face turned dark instantly. Slander. He slandered me. What Dark Lord? You can tell it's the Dark Lord from somewhere. Isn't everything he did an honorable one? You can't deny everything about him just because he acted out deliberately for his own purposes, right? Is it possible that the easygoing nature of decent people is completely purposeless? Are there such stupid people in this world? Erwin doesn't believe that no matter what a person does, it is absolutely for the purpose in his heart. Erwin would never admit that he was the Dark Lord anyway. Wear the title. Erwin is just giving it a try, trying out the title. It does not mean that Erwin has recognized himself as the Dark Lord. Yes, that's it. There's nothing wrong with it. The first-year wizards around him were still curious about why Erwin stopped suddenly. But suddenly, it felt like Erwin had changed. Some of them even dared not look directly at Erwin. Erwin glanced around. Every little wizard who met Erwin's eyes lowered their heads uncontrollably. Even if we are as proud as our platinum gold glory, Draco, who is called Father Master, is the same. Erwin nodded with satisfaction. Don't say it, you really don't say it, even though this title doesn't quite fit with him. However, the effect of this title is still quite good. If this is the case, then it is not impossible to forgive the system. Erwin has even communicated with the system in his mind to ask how to upgrade his title. However, the answer was left to Erwin to explore on his own. Sure enough, the system is quite rubbish. Their system loses air every second. A word of disagreement would kill Voldemort. Look at him again. He has never even seen Voldemort's face. Failure. Disgrace the time traveler. Chapter 54. For the convenience of future readers, let me explain the author's settings here. First of all, the setting of magic value. This magic value is borrowed from other books and games. As for the reason, it is to allow readers to better intuitively know the approximate strength level of the protagonist. Of course, magic does not mean everything. Magic is just the blue bar, but the true strength still has to be linked to actual combat ability, mastery of magic spells, etc. The second point is that in the setting of this book, magic power needs to increase with age, unless he takes drugs, even if the protagonist cheats. But this point must be abided by. So he must drink medicine as his magic power increases. This a little bit, I am afraid that I will fail in my writing and add some restrictions. For example, if I don't give myself some restrictions, I am really afraid that I will let myself go and write for the protagonist to take off. The third point is the setting of the magic level. This is easier to explain by referring to the second point. I saw some readers saying that the strength of the four giants is stronger than the gods. I haven't seen them fight before, so I don't know what's going on. However, from the reader's point of view, it is impossible for the four giants to be stronger than the god of death, because the abilities they use are different. To give a simple example, the four giants can't escape the category of magic, even if they raise their hands to call meteorite. It is also a type of magic, but the god of death is different. That thing is rules-based. According to the settings of fantasy novels, the god of death controls the rules. Secondly, according to the author's settings, the longer you live, the more magic you have. The more you taste carefully. Therefore, according to the author's setting, the four giants are not stronger than the god of death. Of course, the above are all the author's personal settings. In terms of novels, Aunt Rowling's writing in the book is not that clear. So fandom is just to derive your own fantasies. Add some weird settings just to make readers more intuitive viewing, or making it easier for the author to write. Finally, if you don't like watching it, please just quit. There is no need to leave a bad word before leaving. You have nothing to lose. If you don't like it, just quit. Why bother with bad words? Okay, enough nonsense. The main text begins. I tried the power of my title, although Erwin has not tried the amplification magic yet. But the added function of majesty, let alone, is really useful. But suddenly, Erwin felt something was wrong. The fourth generation of the Dark Lord? Erwin looked carefully at the words fourth generation in front of his title. It's broken. Isn't this a fake? System, come out. Host, please tell me. The first generation Dark Lord Grindelwald. The second generation Dark Lord Voldemort. Then why is this title for the fourth generation? Why? You added another time traveler to the list. Ding. Host, please do your own research. The system will never go wrong. Moreover, Grindelwald is not the first generation Dark Lord. Erwin's pupils narrowed. Grindelwald is not the first Dark Lord? So who was the first Dark Lord? Slytherin? No, although Slytherin was ruthless, he did not leave the name of the Dark Lord behind. As far as Erwin knows, there seems to be no such figure in the history of magic. Erwin was confused. While thinking, he walked towards the classroom. Sitting in his seat, Erwin was still thinking about who the first generation Dark Lord was. Until the ghost Professor Cuthbert Binns walked into the classroom. Erwin didn't even understand. And just then, looking at the professor on the podium who was explaining boring knowledge points, Erwin's eyes lit up. He really doesn't know, but someone does. Professor Cuthbert Binns. As the oldest teacher in Hogwarts, he has been teaching at Hogwarts since the day it was founded. It can be said that this professor is the only person in this era who has seen the Big Four. This kind of experience is not something ordinary people have. Although, the professor is now giving lectures, and the history of magic he teaches is very boring, putting all the little wizards to sleep. But, in fact, this professor was not like this at the beginning. Many years ago, the first class for new students at Hogwarts was the history of magic. In Hogwarts, a history of the school, there was a description. When lunch was approaching, The students reluctantly left Professor Bin's classroom. Everyone seemed very excited. Professor Bin's History of Magic course allowed these children to truly hear the mystery of magic for the first time. Let them have infinite reveries about magic. The reason is that Professor Bin's lectures now become very lifeless and boring. In fact, the reason is very simple. Who the hell can maintain enthusiasm after working for 1,000 years? But no matter what, Professor Binns is definitely the most knowledgeable person on the history of magic in the current magic world. No one has ever witnessed it with their own eyes. Watching Professor Binns on the podium, he was explaining the knowledge in the book according to the script. Erwin raised his hand. "Hello, Professor." Erwin's voice made all the day's little wizards raise their heads and look at Erwin. Professor Binns also glanced at Erwin in surprise. He has long been accustomed to the silence of his classroom. Each one is quieter than the other, and each one sleeps more soundly than the other. This is the first time that someone has raised their hand. Professor Binns looked at Erwin. "You? Oh yes, your name is Erwin Cavendi. Other professors have talked about you. They all said that you are excellent. So, Mr. Cavendi, what can I do?" Erwin said, "That's it, Professor. I don't mean to interrupt your lecture. It's just that I have read an interesting book. There are some things recorded in the book, and I am a little curious. And Professor, you are the Hogwarts the most learned man. I want to ask you." Everyone carried the sedan chair, even if he was a ghost. After listening to Erwin's words, the old professor's somewhat unreal face was much kinder to the naked eye. "Oh, what's the problem, Mr. Erwin?" It can be seen from the change of Professor Bin's title that he is in a good mood at this time. Erwin said, "That's right. The book I saw said that before Grindelwald, there was actually a Dark Lord. I find it a bit strange. After all, I don't have this piece of knowledge." After Erwin finished speaking, the other little wizards looked up. Looking at Professor Binns, there is no time to sleep. "This is big news. Shouldn't you just listen to it?" Professor Binns said. "Oh? You must be reading an ancient book. This kind of thing does not happen in today's books." Erwin's eyes lit up. "What do you mean by this? Is there really such a person?" Erwin said, "So, Professor Binns, can you tell me about this guy?" Chapter 55. Professor Binns nodded. "Okay, then I will tell you. In fact, this person is very ancient, or in other words, no one can prove that he really exists, because his era is too long ago. Yes, he is a figure from the Merlin period. Make a change here. According to the original book, Merlin was a student of Slytherin, but if calculated according to the period of King Arthur, the period between Merlin and the Big Four should be hundreds of years different. This may be the reason in the original work a bug. Maybe Andy didn't think about this at the time." Professor Binns continued. "In that era, Merlin met a person. This person's name can no longer be traced, but he was very strong. Even Merlin almost died in the hands of this person. Later, Merlin he used his talent as a dragon whisperer to defeat this man with the help of the last dragon. And this man is also known as the first Dark Lord. After his failure in the hands of Merlin, this man lost his whereabouts. Many people say that he is dead. Of course, there is also a theory that he went to other places to study new magic and come back, but his strength is beyond doubt. However, these are all legends. Because no one can confirm this person really exists. Maybe the only one who knows the truth is Merlin. Unfortunately, Merlin disappeared. No one knows where he is, and naturally no one knows. Even I learned the truth through some ancient books. Just a few words." Erwin nodded. Others couldn't prove it, but Erwin knew that this person really existed. Otherwise, the system wouldn't have said he was the fourth Dark Lord. Just then, Erwin discovered Hua Dian. "Professor Binns, you just said that Merlin disappeared? Isn't he dead?" Professor Binns said, "I don't know. However, Merlin once came to Hogwarts when it was first established. At that time, the four giants also met Merlin. What happened later, I don't know. Merlin refused taught at Hogwarts. Left Hogwarts. No one has seen him since." Erwin was stunned. "Merlin has met the Big Four? Doesn't that mean that Merlin would be several hundred years old at that time? If only I were alive to this day. Be good. 2,000 years younger? Isn't the accumulated magic power higher than the sky? The most important thing is, if Merlin is really not dead, then doesn't he have mastery of immortality?" Erwin's eyes lit up. Of course he thought about immortality. Who doesn't want to live forever? If you don't want to live forever, that's a big deal. But Erwin just thought about it in his mind. He is an 11-year-old little scumbag who can't even defeat Voldemort. He just wants to live forever. How can he play? Professor Binns looked at the young wizards with interested faces. I also seem to have found the long-lost passion for teaching. It seems like you all like hearing this story? All the little wizards nodded hurriedly. They all loved to hear stories. No matter what the story was, they were happy as long as they didn't have to take a boring history of magic class. Professor Binns said, "In that case, then let me tell you more about the unknown existence. Although some courses are not known to young wizards of your age, but it doesn't matter if you talk about it. You know it? Forgiveness spell? Erwin, tell me." Erwin stood up. The Cruciatus Curse, the Imperious Curse, and the Death Curse. These three spells are the ultimate form of black magic. As long as you use them, you will definitely not be able to escape the fate of Azkaban. Professor Binns nodded. Yes, you are very right and very comprehensive. 5 points for Slytherin. As soon as this statement came out, all the little wizards were stunned. Whether it's the Slytherin side or the Hufflepuff wizards who were in class together today. At this time, they all looked at Professor Binns in disbelief. There is a saying in Hogwarts that in the hands of Professor Binns, you will not get a single reward. Because Professor Binns never asked questions, he just gave lectures. Therefore, even our know-it-all lady did not get a single point in the history of magic class yesterday. And Erwin, Elvin Cavendi, actually got 5 points from Professor Binns. What a rare 5 points. The young wizards of Slytherin even thought that they could frame these 5 points and hang them on the wall to tell the young wizards in other houses. Do you see it? This is our hidden prefect of Slytherin, the person who got the score from Professor Binns. Erwin was also a little surprised. In fact, he gave up on the idea of getting points in the history of magic class. Professor Binns smiled and said, "What's wrong? I remember I have the right to add points." Erwin nodded. "Of course. This is your freedom, Professor. Thank you for your generosity." Professor Binns said, "This is the child you deserve." Professor Binns waved his hand and asked Erwin to sit down. Then he continued, "There are actually many opinions about the Unforgivable Curse. Some people say that they were created by the owners of the 3 holy artifacts of death, the 3 brothers who traded with the god of death. There are also many people who think that it was created by someone else. But these speculations were all rejected one by one. However, the 4 giants had speculations at the beginning. This unforgivable curse was probably created by the first-generation Dark Lord, whose name has been forgotten. After being defeated by Merlin, he created it to deal with Merlin of." Erwin raised his hand. Professor Binns nodded. "Mr. Erwin, if you have any questions, you can just ask. In my class from now on, if you have any questions, you can just ask. No need to raise your hand." Erwin said, "Professor Binns, I have heard a saying that the magic spells used by ancient wizards are completely different from ours. It was not until the emergence of the 4 giants that in order to better teach, the magic spells used by ancient wizards were completely different from those of us. The current curse was researched out of it." Professor Binns said, "That's right. When Hogwarts was first established, the 4 giants, many teachers, and some wizards jointly created the current method of casting spells from ancient magic. After all, although ancient magic the power is huge, but it requires one thing to be gained and one thing to be lost. That is, it needs to be exchanged for equivalent things." Erwin said, "In that case, what's the point of creating the Unforgivable Curse? The power of ancient magic is far stronger than the Unforgivable Curse. The Dark Lord should not do such a thing." Professor Binns said, "I don't know this. In other words, no one can know. After all, the times are too far away. But this kind of powerful and evil black magic can only have great achievements in the way of black magic. Only people can create it. Except for the first-generation Dark Lord, there will be no one else at that time." Chapter 56. Erwin nodded. Just then, the bell rang for the end of Get Out of Class. Professor Binns was stunned for a moment. Today's class went really fast. I haven't felt like this for a long time. Erwin, if you have anything else you want to know, I welcome you to come to my office and chat with me. By the way, when you get here, remember to knock on the door. There is no password for my office, and I usually walk through walls. I don't think you want to have this ability for the time being." The corners of Erwin's mouth twitched slightly. He was so excited that he actually saw the ghost professor making a joke. That's outrageous. Erwin bowed slightly. "Okay, Professor. Thank you very much." Professor Binns waved his hand. Then it floated directly up and crawled away from the classroom wall. "Don't say it, don't say it. It seems quite convenient to be a ghost." Erwin packed up his textbooks and left the classroom. The second class in the afternoon is spells class. It was also Erwin's first charms class after arriving at Hogwarts. Generally speaking, Flitwick will not teach charms in the first charms class. Rather, it is mostly theoretical knowledge. After all, magic spells are quite dangerous. For example, our Mr. Neville Longbottom, no matter what kind of magic spell is in Neville's hands, it will become an explosive spell. It's simply outrageous and terrifying. However, from another aspect, this seems to be an ability unique to Neville. From this point of view, Neville is actually a talent. However, Erwin should keep a respectful distance from such talents. Just go and harm others. There is no need to harm him. Fortunately, the first charms class was with Ravenclaw. As the class bell rang, Erwin led a group of Slytherin wizards into the classroom. The left side of the classroom was already filled with Ravenclaw students. And the reason for coming late? Actually, Erwin can't be blamed. He can only blame the two idiot boys around Draco. Oh my god, I really don't understand. It's only been 2 days since school started. How come there are still students getting lost in the bathroom? Erwin felt they should be thankful for their bloodline. Otherwise, with the brains of these two idiots, let alone Slytherin, some magical animals are afraid of affecting their brains if they enter the Forbidden Forest as food. A group of Slytherin wizards sat down. Coincidentally, the remaining seat was still next to Hermione's. Erwin didn't think much about it. Take a seat directly. Professor Flitwick walked up to the podium through the door at the front of the classroom. Not as high as a podium. However, this is really not a problem for Flitwick, the master of spells. All he saw was a slight tap of Flitwick's fingers. The next moment, Flitwick jumped directly into the air, landed on the podium. Erwin's pupils shrank slightly. Damn it, good work. You should be rewarded. Silent wandless floating spell, and it still affects itself. With his attainments in magic, he really deserves to be a master of magic. Sure enough, you can always trust Hogwarts selection. Except of course Lockhart. All the little wizards also opened their mouths. You can't blame the little wizards for being ignorant. Even Erwin thought Flitwick's hand was really cool. Flitwick stood on the podium. Put your hands behind your back. Okay, dear little wizards, although this is not the first time we meet, but I would like to formally introduce myself. My name is Phileas Flitwick, and I am your charms teacher. At the same time, I am also Raven Dean of Crow. All the little wizards in Ravenclaw clapped quickly. Hermione applauded the loudest. The little Slytherin wizards turned to look at Erwin. Erwin raised his hands and clapped, and all the little snakes quickly followed suit. Flitwick nodded with satisfaction. Thank you all little wizards. So, before the formal class begins, I would like to ask, does any little wizard know what the spell I just used is? Erwin and Hermione raised their hands at the same time. Of course, Erwin wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity to score points. Flitwick glanced at the two people who raised their hands. A finger with sharp nails pointed at Hermione. Then Miss Granger, tell me, Hermione said, the levitating spell. And it's a silent and wandless levitating spell. Flitwick nodded. Yes. Then Miss Granger, you win 5 points for Ravenclaw. Hermione's face was filled with excitement. In fact, she wasn't excited that she won by 5 points. It's because, for the first time, he grabbed the opportunity from Erwin for the teacher to ask questions. Erwin didn't think much about it. Anyway, there were plenty of opportunities to score points. Just 5 points. However, in the following time, Erwin really felt the unevenness of the world. He also successfully experienced Hermione's feelings. Is this Flitwick so openly partial? Snape, please get out of the Flitwick holster. Erwin even seemed to be hallucinating. This was simply another Snape. In half an hour, Flitwick asked 4 questions. Erwin and Hermione both raised their hands. But among the 4 questions, Flitwick asked Hermione 3 times, and only once, probably out of embarrassment, did he choose Erwin. Erwin also won by 5 points, just 5 points. What about the selfless professor we promised? Please replace all professors except Snape with Professor McGonagall. Thank you. As for why Snape wasn't replaced, just kidding, it was in favor of Erwin. The Slytherin snakes all saw it too. There was some unhappiness on his face. Erwin didn't bother to raise his hand. Yes, when you take classes with Ravenclaw in the future, you won't be able to get points in the charms class. Erwin didn't take it seriously. The dean favored his own college, which was actually not a big deal. And his lesson today actually has another purpose. Soon, the class was coming to an end. Only half an hour left. Flitwick stopped teaching. Okay, today's class is over. Next is the Q&A session. If anyone has any questions, please tell them. Erwin raised his hand immediately. Flitwick waved his hand. Mr. Cavendi, what's the matter? Erwin said, Professor, I want to ask, is there any magic spell that allows people to communicate no matter how far apart they are? This is Erwin's biggest purpose today. That is my purple lotus mark. Is there any way to install a phone card for him? Bah, no. Is there any way to enable him to have multiple calls? Flitwick asked in confusion. Conversation? Erwin nodded. Yes. Flitwick frowned slightly and began to think. As far as I know, there seems to be no such magic in the magic world. Erwin felt a little disappointed. No? No, it seems there really is one. Where have you seen it? Flitwick paced the lectern table for a moment. Chapter 57. I remembered it. I seem to have seen it before. There was a spell called the sound transmission spell, but this spell has many restrictions, and it is not as convenient as the owl, so it was abandoned by the wizards. Erwin's eyes lit up. I didn't expect it to actually exist. Erwin said, Professor, can you tell me about this spell? Flitwick said, I also saw it in a book, but I can't remember the details. I'll check it out when I go back. I'll tell you during the next class. Erwin nodded. Then it's up to you, Professor. Erwin had some expectations in his heart. If he could add a phone card to his purple lotus mark, it would be really convenient for many things. As for the limitations mentioned by Flitwick, Erwin said that if you can overcome it, and if you can't overcome it, find a way to overcome it. He had learned this spell. As for not being as convenient as an owl, laughing to death, these wizards, what creativity they have. It really made Erwin research understand if this thing can be popularized. Erwin backhandedly opened a Cavendi unicom for you, monopolizing the industry, and asked you if you were afraid. After class, Erwin packed up his things and prepared to go to the auditorium to enjoy his big dish. Just then, our platinum glory, Malfoy the daddy master, actually came to the table. Erwin frowned. With a flip of his wrist, the wand appeared directly in his hand. Malfoy was startled, thinking of the bizarre reason for being beaten on the train. He quickly said, Prefect, I don't mean any harm. Seeing Erwin's frown, Malfoy quickly added, I didn't mean to scold you either. Erwin said, Tell me something. Malfoy breathed a sigh of relief and said quickly, That, I need some help. Erwin was shocked. I almost dropped my wand. Is he getting angry? Or is it just a dream now and he is actually still sleeping? Dream within a dream? Inception? What did he hear? Our father-in-law, Malfoy, said he needed help. And he still found it on his head and said he needed help? Erwin's first reaction was that this guy had a conspiracy. Stop making trouble. How could our platinum gold glory need help? How could it possibly find its way onto the enemy's head? This is the face of the Malfoy family. Malfoy noticed Erwin's look. His face started to turn red visibly. If you don't want to help, forget it. I'll find someone else. After saying that, Malfoy turned around and planned to leave. Erwin said, Stand there. Come and talk. Erwin was really curious. He was really too curious. Let Malfoy find his head. This shows that Malfoy's desire to ask Erwin for help is far more important than Malfoy's hatred for him. Malfoy said, This is the homework given by Professor McGonagall. Turn a match into a needle. I tried for a long time, but it always didn't work well. So, Erwin understands and is here to ask for advice. Malfoy, you actually want to study hard? Something is wrong. 12 out of 10 things are wrong. But suddenly, Erwin thought of something. There is a transfiguration lesson tomorrow, and it is with Gryffindor. So, Malfoy's purpose. Erwin looked at Malfoy and confirmed, this guy plans to overpower Harry Potter. Show off your skills. Sure enough, they are indeed in love and killing each other. It's so cute. Really, this couple is so cute. Erwin felt that the two of them must be together, otherwise he would have to learn how to make love potion. Malfoy made Erwin feel uncomfortable in his eyes. Just when he was about to turn around and leave, Erwin said, Wait for me in the lounge hall tonight. Come back from Professor Snape. I will go over and teach you. Malfoy was stunned for a moment. Are you really willing to teach me? Erwin smiled and said, What else? Okay, let's go to the auditorium. Dinner is about to begin. Erwin didn't say a word. He loved watching this kind of excitement. Erwin could think of it. If Malfoy could beat Harry Potter. How arrogant Malfoy must be. The daily life at Hogwarts was so boring that Erwin was willing to put in some effort to find some fun for himself. Without him, just happy. I'm so scared. Will anyone say this is licking Malfoy? It's really nerve-wracking. In the auditorium, Erwin was eating Chinese vegetables, feeling more satisfied than ever before. What is different from usual is that this time, there are extra Chinese vegetables on the long tables of the 4 major colleges and the professor's dining tables. Erwin noticed the dishes in front of Dumbledore. Fish-flavored shredded pork? Sure enough, Lao Deng made a small fuss for himself. Absolutely. Tomorrow, he will also eat fish-flavored shredded pork. After eating, Erwin went to Snape's office as usual to help Snape deal with the potions. After reading Snape's diary, Erwin's approach was more standard. However, if you are proficient, you still need to practice more. Snape was very satisfied in his heart, but there was no expression on his face. There is no way. The character cannot collapse. After the day's work, Master AI returned to the Slytherin lounge. As soon as I entered the door, I heard the sound of Malfoy casting a spell. Erwin looked around. Marvin sat on the couch. There is a silver needle that is half metal and half wooden stick on the table. Let's call it Silver Needle. Erwin couldn't help but be speechless. Look, this is a bond. It comes from the bond between Malfoy and Harry Potter. It's really touching. Erwin wiped the moisture from the corners of his eyes. He was so moved that he cried. Of course, Erwin would not admit that he had just yawned. Malfoy saw Erwin coming back. Stand up quickly. Erwin waved his hand. Sit down. Let me see how you cast the spell. Malfoy nodded, then recited a spell. The wand in his hand was lit on top of the matchstick. The wooden part of the match turned into metal. Erwin said, "There is nothing wrong with the spell or the action of casting the spell. The only problem is the magic power. You have injected too little magic power." Malfoy said, "Then if I increase the injection of magic power, can I succeed?" Erwin said seriously, "No." Malfoy's face turned dark instantly. "No, you are teasing him, right? His Malfoy life is not his life, right? Just teasing?" Erwin continued, "Because you still lack one of the most important things, which is proficiency. The reason why you inject less magic power is because you know that once too much magic power is injected, the match will not be able to bear it. So, you need a little bit of it. Increase the injection of magic power until you find the threshold. This requires a skilled process." Erwin had studied Professor McGonagall's notes, so it was easy to see what Malfoy's problem was. To put it bluntly, it is too conservative. Look at Seamus, he is full of firepower. Although it exploded, he at least dared to try, right? Malfoy is just too cowardly. Malfoy nodded in understanding, ready to wave the wand and give it a try. Erwin said, "Wait a minute." Then, Erwin stood up and took several steps back. "Okay, you can start." Chapter 58. Erwin is a very adventurous person. At least that's what he thinks, but at the same time, he is also a person who cherishes his life. As the saying goes, a gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall. Obviously, in Erwin's view, Malfoy, who was about to cast a spell, belonged to that dangerous wall. Erwin specified that he was far away. Erwin was also afraid of being splashed with blood. Ah, no, that's not right. How could he talk about his toys like that? It's so rude. Thinking of this, Erwin felt that he was really guilty. He took 2 more steps back. Malfoy looked confused at Erwin's actions. After all, although our father-calling master has a good family background, but he didn't know that inputting too much magic power would cause an explosion. After all, this is a very unpopular symptom, except for Mr. Seamus. Malfoy held his wand, cleared his throat. His face was full of anticipation. It looked serious. He waved the wand lightly in his hand and chanted the spell. The next moment, there was a bang. As expected, the match exploded. Malfoy's face turned dark instantly. Her platinum blonde hair was also dyed with a layer of black ash. Erwin was lucky. He was really smart. He actually retreated to a safe distance. To grasp this kind of distance, no kidding, most people can't do it. I don't know if it's because of the explosion, or because the lovely Mr. Malfoy is not happy right now. That face was ridiculously dark. Malfoy was instantly angry. "Cavendi, how dare you play tricks on me?" As he spoke, he rushed towards Erwin. In his anger, he forgot about the strength gap between himself and Erwin. Erwin took out his wand with his backhand. "Aim at Malfoy. Stand there. Don't move. If you let my clothes get even the slightest bit of black, believe me, I will stuff you into the toilet and let the water wash away your pig brain." Malfoy looked at the silver wand in Erwin's hand. Reason returned instantly. "I have to say that it is really easy to speak when you hold the truth in hand." Erwin said, "Are you kidding me? I'm not that free yet. When the magic power exceeds the output threshold, the magic power will be out of control, and then an explosion will occur. Haven't you learned? It's obvious that you input too much magic power. Could it be that you just increase it a little bit at a time and try slowly again and again?" Malfoy froze. Is that so? Should he have learned it? When did he learn it? Could it be that the professor secretly made up lessons for others while he was eating? Just left him behind? Erwin said, I've given you the solution. To be honest, I didn't expect you to be so stupid. You actually poured all your magic into it as soon as you started. Malfoy, you really let me down. A look of regret appeared on Erwin's face. It looks like a strict mentor feels when his apprentice fails to live up to expectations. Hate the feeling of powerlessness. Malfoy suddenly panicked. No, it's not like that, I'm sorry. Prefect, I didn't mean it. I might have been distracted. Sorry, give me another chance. I can do it. Erwin waved his hand. Try again. I hope you can learn it as soon as possible. After all, we are Slytherin, and you. I value you very much. Hearing this, Malfoy didn't know why, but infinite motivation suddenly rose in his heart. He doesn't know that this power is called chicken soup. Malfoy nodded vigorously. Yeah, I can definitely do it. After saying that, Malfoy turned around and took another match. Start practicing. Erwin raised the corners of his mouth. Look, what a simple little wizard. He really loved Hogwarts. You only need a little performance and a little experience to make a little wizard obey, even if he is a proud Malfoy. Of course, this set is not Erwin's original creation, but he learned it from short videos. Who says you can't learn anything by swiping your phone? Look how useful it is. There is no end to learning, and the ancients will not deceive me. Malfoy has good talent, plus Erwin's guidance. Don't tell me, your learning progress is so fast. At 11 o'clock in the evening, Malfoy once again used his remaining magic power to cast a transformation spell. Then, the match on the table transformed directly into a silver needle. There are some beautiful carvings on it. It looks very exquisite. Malfoy said in surprise. I succeeded. Erwin nodded. Well done, Malfoy. Indeed, I saw the right person. I believe that you will be a blockbuster in the Transfiguration class tomorrow. Malfoy looked at Erwin with gratitude in his eyes. At this moment, there are no grudges or beatings. He has forgotten it. All he knows now is that he cannot succeed without Erwin's help. Malfoy put his hands across his chest and made a strange gesture. Prefect Erwin, Draco Malfoy. Thank you again. Erwin waved his hand. Just learn it. I'm tired too. I'll go back and rest first. Go to the stairs. Erwin felt that he needed to put an end to his acting skills. Erwin stood on the stairs and turned to look down at Malfoy. Draco, I look forward to your performance in Transfiguration class tomorrow. Slytherin, you are honored. After saying that, Erwin turned and left. From the corner of his eye, he saw Malfoy's face full of admiration and excitement. Very good. Full stop. Perfect. Simply perfect. Please award the next statuette to Erwin. He deserves it. After Erwin returned to his bedroom, the sheets were changed as usual. Then lie down on the bed and get ready for sleep. He planned to sleep peacefully today. I don't intend to cause trouble, and I don't intend to do anything else. He is still young, and it is time for his body to grow. Need to rest. In a daze, Erwin quickly fell asleep. On the other side, Malfoy returned to his dormitory. His face was full of excitement. He learned it. He finally learned it. He was already looking forward to tomorrow when Professor McGonagall would check the homework. He succeeded immediately. Then it was time to say something about Harry Potter. What tone should be used and what posture should be used? Malfoy began to formulate the complete scenario in his mind. I have to say that Malfoy loves Harry Potter deeply. Harry Potter is also a well-deserved lucky one. Look, how many people are thinking about him? Although, these are all men. But does it matter? In this country, anything is possible. Erwin actually slept soundly this time. I didn't dream of anything weird. The most important thing is that Erwin was not hunted down in his dream. This is such a blessing. After the wake-up bell rang, Erwin stretched. I washed up and got ready to go to class. He couldn't wait to see the excitement today. My only fun at Hogwarts. Mr. Draco Malfoy, what kind of surprise will he bring? Today, Chapter 59. Come to the auditorium and have breakfast today. Erwin suddenly discovered that Hogwarts had really given him more and more surprises. This house elf, McGee, can actually make noodles, and it was still red oil noodles, and he actually sprinkled peanuts on them. Thin, simply too thin. Erwin felt satisfied after eating a bowl of noodles. This is called life. The house elves are really nice. I wonder if I can talk to Hogwarts and see if I can take the house elves home. This thing is better than the cook Erwin hired. Of course, it's also because of the crappy place Erwin is in. A good Daxia cook is really hard to find. After eating and drinking enough. Erwin brought the first-year Slytherin wizard to the Transfiguration class. Malfoy had already been impatient. I was in a state of extreme excitement all the way. No, it shouldn't be said along the way. Ever since Erwin saw this guy in the auditorium, he has been in a state of excitement. The anticipation on his face could not be concealed at all. So many people thought this guy was crazy. Sitting in the classroom, Erwin took the rare opportunity to find a seat slightly behind the middle. The best viewing position is taught by Maoyan. Erwin sat in this place and could see everyone in the classroom at a glance. Malfoy can also be seen. Malfoy chose a seat in the front row. The other little wizards were all confused. In Professor McGonagall's class, except for top students like Erwin and Hermione, everyone else can just go back. Why is Malfoy still moving forward today? After Malfoy sat down, not surprisingly, he looked directly at Harry Potter. His eyes were full of provocation. Harry Potter was also confused. He rolled his eyes and ignored Malfoy. He turned to Ron and continued talking. Malfoy had a look of anger on his face. Erwin was shocked. I'm jealous. Is this jealous? Sure enough, Malfoy's feelings for Harry Potter are really not pure. The hidden emotional line was finally confirmed by Erwin. Erwin feels that he can start having fun now. It's right for your stomach. It's really right for your stomach. Not long after, Professor McGonagall walked into the classroom. The classroom fell silent instantly. Professor McGonagall said, "Before class, let's check your homework first. Let me see how you are practicing. Although I am not forced to complete it, I still hope someone can surprise me." As he spoke, Professor McGonagall looked at Erwin. After all, according to Professor McGonagall, Erwin is the only one in this classroom who can perform complete transformation. However, the next moment, Professor McGonagall, no, to be precise, something that surprised everyone happened. Malfoy raised his hand high. That expression was like a general returning in triumph, prepared to be rewarded based on merit. There was not only excitement, but also expectation and urgency in his eyes. Professor McGonagall looked at Malfoy in surprise. Getting excited? Erwin has possessed Malfoy? What's going on? Professor McGonagall came to Malfoy's side. What's wrong? Malfoy, do you want to use the toilet? Erwin almost burst into laughter. The most outrageous thing about this sentence is that Professor McGonagall is not making fun of anyone, but she really thinks so in her heart. That's why I ask this. This is Malfoy's reputation. Malfoy was also stunned. Going to the bathroom? I'm not. Don't you want to check your homework? I'm done. Professor McGonagall was shocked. Are you done? Malfoy nodded. Professor McGonagall said, then try it. Malfoy took out his wand, getting ready to take action. Professor McGonagall thought for a moment. He took 2 more steps back. Erwin couldn't stand it any longer. It's so funny. Why did Professor McGonagall suddenly develop into a comedian? Malfoy did not notice Professor McGonagall's movements. At this time, he was looking at the matches on the table with all his concentration. He wants to make a splash. He recalled Erwin's words yesterday in his mind. He was a Slytherin. He was Malfoy, and he needed to defend the Platinum Glory. In the Gryffindor camp on the side, Ron continued his disgusting habit of cuckolding others behind their backs. However, Professor McGonagall's prestige is there. Ron only dared to speak secretly. Into Harry Potter's ear, Ron said, "Just watch." The evil Slytherin thought of another way to impress people. In fact, Ron's brain and knowledge base could not even think of the word sensationalism. However, Hermione just scolded her yesterday, so Ron remembered it. It has to be said that life is full of places for people to grow. Although some growth is beyond your expectations, it was unexpected and presumptuous. Harry Potter smiled. In fact, he didn't think Malfoy could succeed. Erwin succeeds, and he can accept it. But Malfoy will never succeed. After all, our Mr. Potter is still proud. He is the savior. If you can't compare to Erwin, is it possible that you can let others compare? He didn't know that, in fact, among all the freshmen at Hogwarts, his starting point was considered to be in the upper echelon, but his qualifications were only in the middle echelon. As for his level of effort, he was in the lower echelon, and those who were better than him were there are too many people. Malfoy waved his wand and whispered the spell. Professor McGonagall nodded. Not to mention, Malfoy really surprised her. There was nothing wrong with his movements or spells. On the table, matches changed, and then a silver needle appeared. Malfoy's face was filled with excitement. Professor McGonagall stepped forward and picked up the silver needle. Looked at it carefully. There was also unconcealable surprise in his eyes. Malfoy, he actually succeeded. The little wizards around also looked in disbelief. The same goes for Slytherin's little wizard. Damn it, Malfoy secretly worked hard behind their backs, so why did he backstab the scumbag like he promised? Especially Malfoy's two followers were confused. They felt a sense of betrayal. Ron and Harry Potter also looked in disbelief. Malfoy actually succeeded? Malfoy looked proud, turning to look at Ron and Harry Potter. His eyes were full of provocation. Harry Potter noticed the look in Malfoy's eyes, lowered his head. Malfoy's face became even more proud. He won. Malfoy was in a good mood. Professor McGonagall put down the silver needle in her hand. Not bad, Malfoy. 10 points for Slytherin. Malfoy was so excited that he could actually help the Academy gain points. Erwin watched the fun and was very happy. Just then, the sound of the system came. Ding. Malfoy gained 10 Academy points under the guidance of the host, and the host gained 100 reputation points. Please keep up the good work, the host. Chapter 60. I see that everyone is so controversial. As for the issue of whether there is a female protagonist or not, this is the situation. If there are multiple female protagonists, only one female protagonist, or no female protagonist, we have to wait until adulthood. Secondly, let's put it this way. Hermione Jean Cuferong. Even if the author doesn't accept it, he won't give it to others. Even if you die alone, you can't have anything else. There can't be a male who can be related to the female character in the book, and all pets must be female. Erwin's eyes widened. Can you still play like this? System. What does this mean? Does this rule apply to everyone? Or is it just Malfoy? Ding. It applies to everyone. As long as the wizard gets Academy Cup points under the guidance of the host can get achievement point rewards. Not limited to individuals, not limited to colleges, even not limited to schools. Erwin's eyes lit up. Okay. It turns out there is still this way to play. If so, hey. Erwin felt that he had found the best way to increase his points. As for whether it will hurt these little wizards, Erwin said, who cares about him? Erwin is doing a good deed. Allowing the little wizards to progress can also become the nourishment for Erwin to become stronger. The merit is immeasurable. Erwin thought he was a great man. However, this matter needs to be thought through carefully on how to operate it in order to maximize the benefits. The most important thing is how to let this kind of thing be linked to yourself. Otherwise, if you work for a long time and can't harvest achievement points, wouldn't that be a huge loss? A class passes quickly. When get out of class is over, Professor McGonagall was just about to leave. Erwin took 3 steps at a time and came to the front of the podium. Professor McGonagall. Wait a minute. Professor McGonagall put down the textbook in her hand. It's Erwin. What's wrong? I see that you were a little unfocused in class just now. Did you encounter any problem? Is there something wrong with the materials you were asked to sort out? Erwin shook his head. No wonder. I've almost finished organizing it. If nothing else happens, I will be able to hand over the paper to you by the weekend at the latest. Professor McGonagall nodded. What's going on? Erwin said. That's it, Professor McGonagall. I've been here at Hogwarts for a few days, and I've discovered a problem. That is, we really have too much free time. This is not conducive to improving our academic performance. Professor McGonagall was stunned. What did she hear? What a strange language. But the little wizard actually cares about his grades. Professor McGonagall looked at Erwin. It's like looking at a treasure. Professor McGonagall said, Then what do you think? Erwin said, It's like this. I think today's little wizards, after going back every night, will waste a lot of time playing and chatting. Or, they can't sleep and go on night walks. This is very harmful to Hogwarts. There are no benefits to the order, and I think Professor McGonagall doesn't want to see this. So, here's what I think. You can add rules for morning and evening self-study. Professor McGonagall's eyes lit up. Oh, self-study in the morning and evening. It sounds very interesting. Tell me in detail, Erwin said. I think we can start early self-study at 6 in the morning and let the little wizards recite the history of magic and other things that need to be memorized. You know, there are studies that show that people's memory is strongest in the morning. Okay, Professor McGonagall said. Is that so? Interesting statement. But my brain does seem to be clearer in the morning. Erwin said. This is such a right, Professor. Therefore, time in the morning should never be wasted. After reading in the morning, it is perfect to have breakfast and then start the morning classes. And if you get up 2 hours in advance, there won't be a situation where you just wake up and can't eat. I see that every time I make breakfast, there is a lot of food left. This is a waste. I feel bad. Professor McGonagall nodded. She agreed with Erwin's statement. However, she has never had a good way to change it. Now Erwin's words undoubtedly provided her with a new way of thinking. Professor McGonagall said, "Erwin, your method is indeed great. But isn't it a little too early? If it's 6 o'clock, you won't be able to keep up with sleep. Will it affect the quality of learning?" Erwin said, "Professor, I have thought about this. In fact, there has been a study in the Muggle community. Normally, 8 hours of sleep a day is enough. It can eliminate the fatigue of the day. If sleeping for too long can easily make people feel tired." Professor McGonagall nodded. 8 hours. That means the little wizards have to go to bed around 9 or 10 o'clock? It should be difficult for them to sleep. You should know this very well. Erwin said, "Of course, Professor McGonagall. After all, I am also a student of this age, so I know that I lack self-control at this age. I need some small means to help. So, I also thought of a way." Professor McGonagall's face showed anticipation. "Look, what a good student. Can help professors solve problems." Erwin said, "We can increase evening self-study. The time between dinner and bedtime is actually a large blank space. Most of the little wizards use this time to play and go out at night. It is against school rules, and it is also very dangerous. But it would be different if we added evening self-study. They would not have time to play. Moreover, students can communicate with each other when they get together. It is definitely good for improving grades. It can be used after dinner until 9 o'clock night self-study. And after attending night self-study, the students must be very tired. At this time, designate those who want to go to bed as soon as possible when they go back. This can also ensure the time to sleep." Professor McGonagall's eyes became brighter and brighter. "I have to say, Erwin, these ideas of yours are simply great. You must have put a lot of thought into it. It's hard for you. In order to help other little wizards, I thought of so much." Professor McGonagall is liking Erwin more and more now. Erwin said, "Professor, you have given me the award. This is what I should do. We are all classmates, and this is what I suddenly thought of after coming to Hogwarts in the past few days. You know, I am very keen on serving others. If you think about it, some people may think that I am nosy. But my intention is actually good." Professor McGonagall's eyes turned red when she heard this. "Kid, no one will think you are nosy. What you said is really useful. I think all Hogwarts students should thank you. You have helped them find a more efficient learning method." Erwin lowered his head slightly. He was afraid that Professor McGonagall would see the smile on his lips. Is this thing difficult? Isn't it just a matter of copying Dashia's teaching methods? Learn about exam-oriented education and learn about involution. It was Erwin who took all the first-year students by himself. But now that a new mechanism for increasing points in the system has been discovered, Erwin has nothing to hesitate about. Of course, everyone has to roll up. As for whether other little wizards would thank Erwin, Erwin thought it would be good if they didn't have to ask him to eat a big melon every day. Thanks, sir. Chapter 61. But so what? Erwin can stand between heaven and earth, patting his chest and saying that he is doing everything for the good of the little wizards. Of course, the reason why he became stronger on his own was just a trivial reason. He mainly wanted to make some contribution to the little wizards at Hogwarts. Yes, he is that great. So selfless. Erwin felt that his image had become taller. Moved, tearful. Erwin bowed slightly. "Professor, these are what I should do. I am a student of Hogwarts, and I am a student of Slytherin. I have an obligation to help my classmates become better. I hope that from now on the little wizards who go out of Hogwarts will become the best." Professor McGonagall's eyes turned red when she heard this. Touched, really touched. "Look, what does it mean to be a good student? This is called a good student. What is a worry-free little wizard? This is a worry-free little wizard." Professor McGonagall said, "Erwin, I see all your consideration for Hogwarts. Believe me, you are the best student I have ever seen. No one. If other little wizards were like you, then I'm so relieved. I will tell other professors about your suggestion. Then, we will discuss it." Erwin said, "Okay, then I'll bother Professor McGonagall. I think other professors will be happy to agree." Professor McGonagall said, "Of course. I think the same as you. Okay, it's almost time. It's time for you to prepare for your next class. Those little wizards are waiting for you too. If I remember correctly, your next class should be potions." Erwin turned to look. I found that there were many little wizards in the classroom. Not only Slytherin, but also Gryffindor students. However, now these little wizards are looking at Erwin with horrified eyes. They all heard what Erwin said just now. Just hearing it made them feel horrified. What a horrible schedule. From birth to now, They have never had such a routine in the underworld. At this time, Erwin, who made this suggestion, seemed to have his facial features gradually blurring in their eyes. The hair starts to disappear. The nose starts to disappear. The skin turned pale white. Oh, this is Voldemort. Erwin didn't bother to pay attention to these little wizards. At the beginning, there will be some discomfort. This is normal. After all, Dasha's work and rest time, as well as the level of effort. Of course they don't understand, but this is only temporary. Erwin was sure that they would get used to it quickly. Erwin is a good teacher. He can teach these little wizards. Of course, if these little wizards don't want to listen to reason, he can also use some punches. Erwin spoke to Professor McGonagall and then left the Transfiguration classroom with the Slytherin wizards. When going to the potions classroom, these little wizards were very silent. Looking at Erwin's back, they felt more and more eerie. What an evil person to think of doing self-study in the morning and evening. This resulted in the potions class being unprecedentedly quiet today. Although usually due to Snape's presence, the air pressure in the potions classroom was already very low. But it's extremely low today. Arcane Professor Snape noticed the abnormality immediately. He frowned, didn't say much. The Gryffindor wizards may have been frightened by Erwin's suggestion. So, it's very quiet. This actually saved Snape a lot of work. Of course, silence is not enough in potions class. For example, Mr. Neville Longbottom still made a powerful potion. Even Harry and Ron around him suffered. Erwin doesn't know how to counter curse or any other spell that spells the end of all curses. So I didn't take any action to increase my presence. Of course, even if he could, he probably wouldn't take action. The stupid little lion needs to endure hardships to grow up. The great Erwin sacrificed too much. He even did not hesitate to bear the reputation of not helping his classmates. There is nothing worth talking about in a potions class. Gryffindor's performance was as expected by everyone. Not the slightest surprise. And Erwin, who made 30 points like crazy, seemed to be gradually getting used to it. It would be an accident if Erwin didn't earn points for the school one day. Erwin himself felt embarrassed. Snape was really biased. Even if Flitwick is partial, it's only 50-50ths. Look at Snape. A very plus. The most terrifying thing is that Snape didn't even try to pretend. Just like after Erwin brewed the potion, wiped the table, Snape always gave 10 points directly. Erwin himself was so embarrassed. But don't tell me, the efficiency of scoring points is really high. Seeing himself return to a reputation value of 2007, Erwin could say proudly, what he has achieved today is all due to his own efforts. As for the system, it's just auxiliary. After class, Erwin packed his things and was about to leave. Suddenly a shadow blocked the sunlight in front of him. The corners of Erwin's mouth twitched slightly. This is a familiar appearance. There was no one else but Snape in this sun-blocking area. Erwin smiled charmingly. Dear Professor, what's wrong? Snape said nothing. Instead, he looked at the other little wizards. These little wizards were full of curiosity and were ready to hear if there was any gossip. Snape's cold voice came out. Are you so slow to clean up your things? Why? Your troll-like brains have made you don't know how to clean up the cauldron? Or do you not want to leave my classroom? All the little wizards suddenly trembled. The movements of his hands began to speed up. Snape turned to look at Harry Potter. Mr. Potter, is there something wrong with your hands? What were you listening to in class? I told you that those who clean up the cauldron need to clean the cauldron. You didn't listen to a word. 5 points from Gryffindor. Harry Potter turned green. Such a special disaster. The other little wizards haven't been cleaned either. Malfoy's face was full of schadenfreude. But with his previous experience, Harry Potter wouldn't dare to refute even a word. Soon, all the little wizards in the classroom were gone. Then Snape looked at Erwin. What happened in your last class? Erwin was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that Snape would actually talk about this when he left him. Erwin told Snape what he told Professor McGonagall. Snape looked at Erwin suspiciously. What are you planning? Chapter 62. Erwin suddenly became anxious. Professor, you are wrong to say that. I am doing this for the sake of our study. What ideas can I have? Snape gave Erwin a meaningful look. You are the most authentic Slytherin. There has never been a selfless person in Slytherin, no matter what your intentions are. But remember one thing. Hogwarts is Dumbledore's Hogwarts. Don't go too far. After saying that, Snape turned and floated away. That's right, it's floating again. Erwin was shocked. Is there no professor in Hogwarts who appears normally? The ones that drilled into the wall, the ones that floated around, the ones that turned into cats, and the ones that rolled on wheels. Oh, what a sin. I'm sorry, Professor Sprout. I didn't mean to laugh at you. After Snape floated away, Erwin also breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, even when he faced Snape, he felt that the air pressure had dropped significantly. Erwin whistled and packed his things. Wash the crucible clean. After all, it was bought with money, as a representative of thrift and diligence. The remaining potion will corrode the crucible. What a waste. After cleaning up everything, Erwin left the classroom. He also closed the classroom door. Such responsible students are really rare. With such a delay, less than half an hour passed. Erwin estimated that the little wizards had almost eaten. I don't know if McGee left any food for him. However, Erwin was startled just as he walked into the auditorium. All the little wizards were looking at him, including those in upperclassmen. There was confusion and fear in his eyes. Some are even a bit hostile. Erwin was a little confused. Come to Slytherin's long table. Charlotte moved towards Erwin. He looked Erwin up and down. Erwin knocked on the table. Several meals appeared. Erwin picked up the paper towel on the side and wiped his chopsticks. He asked casually, "Why are you looking at me like this?" Charlotte said, "Nothing. I just want to see what the devil's son looks like." Erwin was stunned. "My father still has a hidden identity?" Charlotte smiled and said, "Now it is spread throughout Hogwarts. You are the son of the devil. Most people really can't think of morning and evening self-study. So, how on earth did you think of such a terrifying thing?" Erwin understood. So that's what happened. These little wizards can spread messages so fast. Erwin said, "Don't you think it's good to study by yourself in the morning and evening?" Charlotte spread her hands. "Maybe you are the only one who thinks so." However, it seems that Ravenclaw was very happy when they heard about morning and evening self-study. You know, they really love to study. Erwin looked towards the Ravenclaw table. Sure enough, Hermione's face was full of excitement, and the other Ravenclaw students also had excited expressions on their faces. Erwin said, "Isn't this great?" Charlotte shook her head and had nothing to say for a while. Erwin picked up a piece of fatty meat and asked casually, "Have Malfoy and the others left after eating? Why are there so few freshmen in this grade?" Charlotte was stunned for a moment. "They didn't come to the auditorium. Aren't you the one in charge of the first-year wizards? Didn't I ask you to arrange to do other things?" Erwin was also stunned. "I didn't." Erwin looked towards the Gryffindor table. It was discovered that there were also some first-year wizards missing from the Gryffindor table. Erwin suddenly felt as if something bad was going to happen. Just then, Professor McGonagall walked into the Great Hall. His face was ashen. The anger in his body was about to break through the roof of the auditorium. And behind him, there are 2 rows of freshmen, a row of Slytherin students. The leader is Malfoy. However, Malfoy is not in a good condition at this time. There were patches of bruises on his face. The other column is for Gryffindor students. At the head is our savior, Mr. The lenses of my glasses were broken. But it didn't look as miserable as Malfoy's. But Ron behind Harry Potter was different. His face was swollen, like a scaled-down troll figure. If it weren't for the red hair, Erwin wouldn't have recognized him. The other little wizards all had some injuries. The auditorium suddenly became quiet. Professor McGonagall looked angry. Dumbledore quickly took the time to grab a piece of sweet and sour pork. Then he put down his chopsticks reluctantly. "Minerva, what's going on?" Several other professors also looked over curiously. Professor McGonagall said coldly, How dare they get together to fight in groups? Use their fists, my God. I have never seen such students. Hogwarts has never appeared since the day the school was founded. Such a thing." Erwin was also shocked. "Damn it, they actually started fighting in groups. And you haven't called him yet? He actually missed such a fun thing? Just missed it?" Erwin took a big mouthful of rice to express his dissatisfaction. Dumbledore's expression also changed slightly. This kind of thing really never happened in Hogwarts. This is indeed a first time. Dumbledore didn't know what to do. Turning to look at Snape. "Severus, what do you think?" Snape's face was also cold. Erwin, who was watching the show, was stunned for a moment. Did someone call him just now? It was Snape who shouted. Erwin stood up quickly. "Professor, I'm here." Snape said, "This is your first year." Erwin was stunned. How the hell can he take the blame? Wasn't it Snape who drove them away? Wasn't it Snape who kept him here? Why is he still taking the blame? But seeing Snape's cold gaze, Erwin didn't dare to say a word. "Sorry, Professor. I'll take care of it." Snape snorted. No further words were said. Professor McGonagall glanced at Erwin. Then he turned to look at the young wizards. "Because of your behavior, Slytherin and Gryffindor will deduct 100 points from each house. After Professor McGonagall finished speaking, all the little wizards were shocked. Malfoy said quickly, "No, Professor McGonagall. You can't do this. They were the ones who started it." "Shut up, Malfoy. Aren't you embarrassed enough? Where is your noble character?" Erwin said angrily. Malfoy immediately shut his mouth and did not dare to speak. Professor McGonagall waved her wand. The hourglass representing Slytherin and Gryffindor points dropped sharply in an instant. Slytherin is okay. There's a little left. But Gryffindor's hourglass emptied immediately. Not even a hair is left. Professor McGonagall waved her hand. "Let these little wizards go." Harry Potter and the others returned to the Gryffindor table dejectedly. As for the young wizards in Slytherin, then came behind Erwin, standing quietly, not even daring to raise his head, let alone sit down. Erwin ignored them. "Keep eating." Soon, Erwin finished showing off the food on the table. Erwin burped. "Put down the chopsticks." Chapter 63. Turning around to look at the young wizards headed by Malfoy. "You guys, I'm impressed. You actually know how to fight. Or use your fists. Oh my god. You know when Professor McGonagall said you fight with your fists? How surprised was I. The students of Hogwarts actually fight with their fists." All the little snakes lowered their heads, not daring to refute a word. Erwin said, "Then Master Malfoy, tell me, use your fists to fight like a barbarian. This is the training of your Malfoy family? This is the pride of pure blood? This is your tutor." Malfoy was speechless. Erwin said, "Slytherin, because you have deducted 100 points. Before the House Cup is settled, I want to see you fight for 200 points for Slytherin, no matter what method. If you can't do it, I will personally teach you what a real fist is." The little snakes dared not make a sound. But I felt in my heart that this was an impossible task. But Erwin wasn't about to give them the chance to say anything else. He said in a cold voice, "Go and eat. What are you doing standing here? Do you want to show your face?" A group of little snakes quickly started looking for a place, sat down and lowered their heads to show off, not daring to say a word. Charlotte moved closer to Erwin. He smiled and said, "You scared those little guys quite a bit." Erwin snorted coldly. "If they knew they were afraid, they shouldn't get into trouble. It's simply embarrassing. Professor Snape might have drugged them to death." Charlotte laughed. On the Gryffindor table, Percy looked at Erwin's prestige in Slytherin with envy on his face. As a poor man, Percy was obsessed with power. Although he became a Gryffindor prefect, Gryffindor was hard to describe. He also wanted to be like Erwin. No one dared to sit down and eat before he opened his mouth. Charlotte said, "By the way, do you want to continue the prefect challenge today? But there are many people waiting for it." Erwin said, "Of course. I said it yesterday, and I'm in a bad mood right now. I need a place to vent." Charlotte smiled and said, "It seems that someone is going to be unlucky, but you are really a pure Slytherin." Of course, Charlotte wouldn't know that Erwin was in a bad mood, not because Slytherin was embarrassed, but because these guys didn't call him out when they were fighting, so he didn't enjoy the excitement. This was what made Erwin the most angry. Erwin stood up immediately. "Look at Marcus Flint, who has a gloomy face at the end of the long table." "Bullshit. Go wait for me by the Black Lake." Marcus' face turned even darker. "Stand up. Do you really think you are sure to win? Cavendi, you will pay the price for your arrogance." After saying that, he turned around and left. The fifth-grade students behind him quickly followed. Erwin pouted. He said it quite forcefully, but he didn't just go there obediently. The other little wizards who were waiting to watch the duel also took notice. Soon the number of people in the auditorium decreased by 70%. Malfoy and others also accelerated the pace of showing off their food. Erwin stood up. He straightened his robe, which was wrinkled from sitting down. Then he walked out of the auditorium. Behind him, Charlotte quickly followed. Erwin looked at Charlotte in confusion. "Why do you always follow me?" Charlotte said, "I lost to you. You are also my prefect now. Of course I will follow you. Isn't this normal?" Erwin frowned. "I don't feel like this girl is a good person." It seemed like she was trying to get close to him on purpose. Could it be that she covets his beauty? Sure enough, this face will indeed bring him some trouble. Erwin is often impressed by his handsomeness. Apart from hearing about a mysterious group called Readers before traveling through time, Erwin has never seen him before. More handsome than myself. Lanyan can also be a disaster. Erwin sighed. Walking towards the Black Lake, he was going to beat someone up. On the edge of the Black Lake, the best viewing spots had been occupied by the little wizard. Seeing Erwin coming, the crowd made way. Erwin walked directly into the crowd. Central location. Marcus and Glodia are already waiting. Marcus' face was cold. The eyes looking at Erwin were full of malice. Grodia smiled at Erwin. Erwin stood on Glodia's right side. Grodia said, "Okay, the protagonists are all here, so the 5th stage of the Prefect Challenge officially begins." Both sides bow. Marcus said coldly, "I won't bow to him. Just start." A cold glint flashed in Erwin's eyes. Damn it, this guy is really looking for death. He really has to thank the Harmonious Society and Azkaban. Otherwise, a green light would have reached Byung's face now. Grodia also frowned. "Marcus, this is the rule." Marcus turned a deaf ear to it, ignored him at all, and had no intention of bowing. Grodia's face also turned cold. Erwin said, "Okay, Prefect, I'll handle it." Glodia looked at Erwin and nodded. Then he lowered his voice and said, "Erwin, teach him a lesson." Erwin smiled. "Don't worry, Prefect. He will never forget it for the rest of his life." Grodia exits the center position. Marcus took out his wand. "Cavendi," I said, "you will pay for your arrogance." Erwin nodded. "Yes, I understand. So now bow to me." Marcus said coldly, "You are dreaming." Erwin sighed. There are always people who are misbehaving. The next moment, Erwin's face suddenly darkened. Then, with a flip of his wrist, the wand appeared in his hand. All around him, magic power shot directly into the sky, pressed towards Marcus. Erwin's magic power was simply terrifying when he used his full strength. The fluctuations of these magic bursts were controlled by Erwin and pressed directly towards Marcus. Marcus's face changed instantly. Erwin said coldly, "I told you to bow to me." Chapter 64. This move was inspired by Erwin from Voldemort in the movie. Now it seems that this thing is quite useful. The little wizards around were also shocked. How terrifying. Is this Erwin's true strength? Is this really magic that students can have? And Charlotte on the side had a glint in her eyes. "I don't know what I'm thinking." Grodia's expression also changed slightly. This magic power is so terrifying. However, he didn't think there was no possibility of a fight with Erwin. After all, a wizard's strength is not always determined by magic power. Marcus' face was also full of fear, and he now really understood the difference in strength between the two. In this case, it was a luxury for him to even move his fingers. Erwin also had a flash of surprise in his eyes. "Are Marcus' bones so hard? Don't you even bow?" Erwin didn't know. It was the first time he used this move, but he didn't control the strength well. So, it's not that Marcus doesn't want to bow, it's that he can't bow at all. He can't move. Finally, there was a crisp click. Marcus' leg was actually broken by Erwin's momentum. This soft clicking sound was heard by almost everyone. Marcus had a look of pain and fear on his face, but was oppressed by momentum. Not a single word could come out. Erwin was shocked. Marcus's bones are actually so hard? It doesn't seem to be shown in the original work. Sure enough, Slytherins are all good. Even this kind of supporting actor in the original work has such backbone. Erwin suddenly admired Marcus. He is a pure man. Not bad, very good. Erwin recognized Marcus. Erwin lost his momentum. The next moment, there were screams one after another. My legs, my legs. I give up, I give up. Send me to the school doctor. Please, I don't dare to be your enemy anymore. I give up." The sudden flip nearly hit Erwin's waist. Erwin was stunned. It took me 3 or 4 minutes to think about it before I figured out what was going on. Co-author, was this guy so oppressed by his own momentum just now that he couldn't speak at all? Erwin suddenly felt a little disappointed. It seems that he paid by mistake after all. Marcus saw that Erwin was silent. I was even more panicked in my heart, especially seeing the look in Erwin's eyes. No matter what, it seemed that he didn't intend to let him go. This scared Marcus half to death. "Please, Prefect Erwin, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Spare me. I am willing to surrender. Please, let me go." The little wizards who were watching looked at Erwin with a hint of fear in their eyes. A few little wizards who play well with Marcus want to send Marcus to the school doctor, but he didn't dare to come. I could only look at Erwin anxiously. Erwin sighed. "You disappoint me. I thought you had some ability. However, you can't even withstand the pressure of my magic power. What qualifications do you have to be loyal to me? Slater Lynn needs elites, and so do my men. Marcus, you are too weak. So weak that I have no idea of taking action again. I will give you a chance to improve yourself. If one day you can see my back, then I'll give you the chance to follow me." After saying that, Erwin turned around. The figure is a bit lonely. It's like a respected elder who feels sad when he sees his younger generation failing. In the eyes of all the young wizards, Erwin has become so tall at this time. Marcus was also stunned. Looking at Erwin's back, he suddenly felt that he was really a little too bad. Erwin was disappointed, and he didn't even have the chance to become Erwin's follower. Erwin had obviously given him a chance to fight, but his strength was so low. He is so low that he can't even withstand Erwin's pressure. How does he qualify to be called a pure-blood family? Erwin waved his hand. Go take him to the school doctor. Those friends of Marcus, who were already anxious, ran over quickly. Lift Marcus up. I was going to go to the school doctor. But Marcus shouted, wait a minute. Then, Marcus looked at Erwin's back and said, sorry, my strength is too poor. But I remember what you said today. One day, I will see your back. Thank you, show mercy. I apologize to you for my arrogance and provocation. Erwin didn't even turn his head. He raised his hand and waved it casually. A weak sigh reached the ears of everyone present. In the Ravenclaw camp, Hermione looked at Erwin's somewhat lonely back. Suddenly I felt a little distressed. Has he been so tired these years? For the sake of family and for survival. Now after coming to Hogwarts, I want to find a suitable opponent, to enable others to improve. For the glory of Slytherin. He's endured too much. An idea suddenly came to Hermione's mind. She wants to become excellent, especially excellent. That would help Erwin. Not for anything else, she just hoped that when Erwin felt tired. Help Erwin. Even if it's just some small help. But it would be nice to make Erwin less tired. Erwin stood on the edge of the Black Lake. His eyes fell on the Black Lake. I felt a little anxious. It's not his comparison. Is he pretending to be in place? Why is there no movement? Should he turn his head now? If he turns his head, his character will collapse. So what's going on behind the scenes now? Just when Erwin was thinking wildly, there were sounds of footsteps coming from behind. Erwin glanced secretly out of the corner of his eye. It was discovered that they were all Slytherin snakes. There are little snakes from 1st to 5th grade. They came up behind Erwin, bowed deeply. Charlotte took 2 steps forward. He came behind Erwin and said, Prefect, go back and rest. Erwin's lips curved. It seems to work pretty well. Sure enough, Voldemort's path was wrong. Grindelwald was wrong too. Blind high pressure will only cause resistance. Only by establishing authority appropriately, being gentle occasionally, shaping one's own image, and creating one's own personality is the path the Dark Lord should take. Bah, what a Dark Lord. He is not the Dark Lord. He just wanted to make Hogwarts more orderly. I want the little snakes to have a better destination after graduation. What's wrong with him? He sacrifices himself for others. He is great. Ding. It has been detected that what the host has done perfectly matches the characteristics of the Dark Lord. It has been detected that the host has won the love of more than 70% of Slytherin's little wizards. The title has been upgraded, and the current title is The Debut of the 4th Generation Dark Lord. Title bonus increased by 5%. Chapter 65. Erwin cursed directly in his heart. Are you shabby? Huh. Twice. You slapped me in the face twice. Do you have to give out the competition reward now? You did it on purpose, shabby. Ding. The host has broken the defense. The host can choose not to receive the reward, and the system can take back the title. Haha. Wear the title immediately. Ding. The title was successfully worn. It smells so good. Erwin turned around slowly. Charlotte, who was standing at the top, suddenly felt her heart tremble. He quickly lowered his head. He didn't dare to look directly at Erwin. She felt that Erwin's majesty seemed to be even stronger. All the little snakes also lowered their proud heads. Erwin nodded with satisfaction. Very good. This is the taste. Erwin glanced around. They are all little snakes in grades 1 to 5. As for the 6th and 7th graders, they stood aside. After all, Erwin hasn't taken action against the 6th and 7th graders yet. They have not yet been conquered. In fact, Erwin felt like it was a game. He needs to fight up step by step, defeating every boss. The boss's younger brother will join him. Moreover, this was not just because Erwin defeated their hidden prefect, but because Erwin's strength was truly recognized by them. At this time, Erwin finally understood why Slytherin had this prefect challenge that was impossible to complete. Rely on strength to defeat everyone. Then you are a well-deserved prefect of Slytherin. The weak eat the strong, and the strong occupies the throne. Erwin really loves Slytherin to death. Erwin said, Let's go. Then, the little snakes made way for a passage. Erwin passed through the middle, and Charlotte and other original hidden prefects followed Erwin. Behind them were all the little snakes from Slytherin. The other little wizards who were watching also quickly moved out of the way. Let the little snakes pass through. At this moment, Slytherin's cohesion was unprecedentedly high. The little wizards in Slytherin's 6th and 7th years looked at each other. Somehow, they seemed to see themselves in the crowd. The little lions, who had been fighting fiercely with the little snakes, were now far away. He didn't dare to stand in front of the little snakes at all. They even doubted that if they stood in front, they would be crushed directly by the small snakes that swarmed to attack. In the shadows, Snape looked at Erwin, who was walking at the front. His eyes were dazed for a moment. Just then, a voice behind Snape sounded, "It's really amazing. Even I have never seen such a Slytherin." Snape didn't even turn his head. Just know who is coming. There was a mocking expression on the corner of his mouth. "What? Principal Dumbledore, are you being ridiculously suspicious again? Don't forget, he is Cavendi," Dumbledore said. "I know, Severus, you don't have to be on guard against me like this. You know, I won't have the slightest malice towards this child. I will protect him. This is what we owe him." Snape mocked. "Really? You promised me that you would protect Lily, but in fact, Lily is dead, because you trusted someone you shouldn't trust. So he died." Dumbledore was speechless for a moment. "Sorry, Severus, I didn't want to either. I didn't expect it." Snape interrupted. "That's enough, Dumbledore. I don't want to listen to you anymore. I didn't expect it. You always say you didn't expect it, and the same goes for Cavendi's parents. We all know that he faces what is right. It is a more terrifying existence than Voldemort. I said that they should not be allowed to leave Hogwarts, but what? How did you answer me? You said that you would protect them and nothing would happen to them. Just like Lily. They all trust you so much, but you betrayed their trust." Dumbledore stopped talking. Snape said coldly, "And now, you still want to use their son, Dumbledore. I will not allow you to have the slightest idea about him. I will protect him. This is what I owe them and their wife, even if it is you. If you want to take advantage of him, I will also pull out the wand at you. Trust me, Dumbledore. Don't doubt my determination." Dumbledore said, "I didn't, Severus. The idea never occurred to me." Snape sneered. "Really? Then you might as well explain why you interrupted me to tell Erwin the truth that day. Aren't you afraid that Erwin will hate you after knowing the truth? Or be on guard?" "Dumbledore, you can't hide it from me." Dumbledore sighed. "I know you don't trust me. Time will tell, Severus." After finishing speaking, Dumbledore snapped his fingers. The figure disappeared directly on the spot. Snape looked in the direction where Dumbledore disappeared. His face was full of mockery. Trust Dumbledore? Snape would never trust Dumbledore when it came to Erwin. How can someone trust someone who has a criminal record? Snape's clothes flew away with a wave of his clothes. "Bah, that's not right. It's not right to float away. It's just gone anyway." Erwin before entering the castle. "I saw the movement here from the corner of my eye." Snape is also seen talking to Dumbledore. A glint flashed in Erwin's eyes. It seemed, as if probably, that some things were more complicated than he imagined. This wave of testing Dumbledore seems to have failed. Erwin, who has read the original novel, is certainly not a rash person. If he really didn't consider the consequences, how could he develop the Cavendi family to this extent? He knew the character of Oldby very well. From an upright perspective, Oldby was indeed a great person. He used his own life to completely eliminate Voldemort and to bring peace to the wizarding world. How touching. Thinking of this, Erwin felt like he was going to cry again. So touching. But Oldby is also a very shady person. He has taught people like Voldemort and defeated Grindelwald himself. Therefore, he is very sensitive to the Dark Lord. And Slytherin, as the cradle of dark wizards. There is someone like Erwin who is even more outrageous than Voldemort. From Erwin's point of view, this is something that the Oldby cannot accept. Therefore, Erwin caused so many things. It's just to test the Oldby's bottom line. But what surprised Erwin was that Oldby had no intention of looking for Erwin at all. This confused Erwin. Is Oldby really not afraid of him becoming the Dark Lord? Or does Oldby have other plans? Therefore, Erwin himself has 1 year to get through this Slytherin Prefect Challenge. But he reached 6th grade in a few days just to see what kind of attitude Dumbledore had. Chapter 66. Based on Erwin's experience of reading novels and watching movies, Dumbledore should have called him over, either to win over or to test. Erwin had already thought of a way to deal with it. But Oldby ignored him? This made Erwin couldn't help but think more. People are so strange. After being on guard for a long time, you will feel very frustrated when you find that you are lonely after guarding against something. Erwin is in this situation now. There is still a bit of jade that was given to Erwin. In the lounge, Erwin leaned back on the couch. Look up at the ceiling. The fireplace was roaring. That's all good about Slytherin's common room. Because when you sit in the common room, you never know whether it is day or night outside. If you want to bask in the sun, you have only two options. The first one is to leave the lounge, and the second one is to go to the dormitory upstairs. Of course, only the top floor is built above the water and can see the sun. The top floor is the dormitory for the prefects. Fortunately, Slytherin at least had the ability to see light above the water. Otherwise, Erwin wouldn't have anywhere to bask in the quilt even if he wanted to. Westerners will never understand the noble Dasha's obsession with drying quilts. Just when Erwin was about to close his eyes and rest his mind while waiting to go to class, a figure sneaked towards Erwin. Erwin maintained his posture. Not even a glance. Said, "Malfoy, are you planning to assassinate me or something?" Malfoy paused. "Somewhat embarrassing," Erwin said. "If you have anything to say, tell me immediately." Malfoy said, "I'm here to apologize." Erwin became interested. "Sit up straight." "Oh, apologize." Malfoy said, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have fought with Ron and the others. I brought shame to Slytherin." Erwin nodded. "Yeah, it's a profound reflection. However, there is one thing you said wrong. Do you think I'm angry because you guys were fighting?" Malfoy was stunned for a moment. "Isn't it?" Erwin looked around, in the common room. There were also many young wizards, including those who fought with Malfoy and the others. Erwin said, "Now that you are here, let me tell you where I am angry. Fighting is not a very important thing. What really makes me angry is that there are more of you than those stupid lions, and there are still people you were injured. And the most outrageous thing is that you will actually be caught by Professor McGonagall." Malfoy scratched his head. Explained, "Those Gryffindors, they are too strong." Erwin said, "Because they are poor. Therefore, they have to do many things by themselves. Invisibly, their bodies have been exercised, and you have been pampered since childhood. Naturally, your physical fitness is not as good as theirs, but you are not. See through this. Use your own shortcomings to touch other people's strengths." Malfoy, "Are all the Splendens in your mind?" Malfoy lowered his head. When Erwin said this, he also realized that he seemed to have done something very stupid. Erwin continued, "Remember, we are Slytherin. We are noble and elegant. Outsiders say that we are unscrupulous, but we are just looking for the road to success. There is only one goal, but there are many roads. We are not evil. We just don't need to choose the bumpy and muddy road to overcome thorns and thorns like those idiots. Our starting point is a broad road. So, when encountering things, use your brain. Your brain will get rusty if you don't use it. A pureblood wizard would actually choose to fight against a group of stupid lions with simple minds and powerful limbs. This is the stupidest thing about you." The young wizards were so scolded that they did not dare to raise their heads. Malfoy said, "But we don't know how to do magic. We have too few magics." Erwin was secretly happy. Okay. I didn't realize that this guy would still praise me. Look, this guy is so sensible." Erwin's spit was not wasted. Erwin said, "Everyone has a copy of the Basic Charms Encyclopedia. Don't you know how to read it yourself? Isn't this because you don't practice it yourself? Am I born with these spells? I don't need to practice. The reason why we are strong, the reason why we are noble, that is because of our strength. If you want to defend the glory of Slytherin, then you need to make yourself stronger. Glory is for defending and the innate identity. Without the strength that matches them, they will eventually be surpassed. How many of the 28 pureblood tribes are left now? Don't you know how many of them are left? Isn't this a lesson learned from the past?" All the little wizards were silent, not just the first-year ones. Some senior students also lowered their heads. Erwin saw that the time was almost here. Standing up and saying, "I am not denying you by saying this. I came to Slytherin. For me, this is an honor. I am willing to use my life to defend the glory of Slytherin. I also hope you have the same idea as me. Use your strength to prove to everyone that the glory of Slytherin is a throne made of strength." All the little wizards suddenly felt their blood boiling. It was as if there was an unknown force injected into their bodies. Each of them clenched their fists. "Don't know who it is," the first one shouted. "For Slytherin." The next moment, all the little wizards in the entire lounge raised their fists. "For Slytherin." Erwin didn't expect the effect to be so good. He now somewhat understands the failed art student. This is simply the art of language. Erwin raised his fist and placed it on his chest. "Everyone, for Slytherin, we must become stronger. It is our duty to defend the honor of Slytherin. All the little wizards punched their chests with their fists. Some little snakes who were resting in the dormitory also came out. I heard Erwin's words. Infected by the atmosphere. Everyone put their fists to their chests. Shouted Slytherin. Fortunately, the entire Slytherin lounge is under the Black Lake. Otherwise, Erwin would have thought that Dumbledore would have to come and see what was going on. Erwin himself was shocked by this movement. Erwin raised his hand and pressed it. The shouting stopped. Erwin said, "Although my strength is limited, but for Slytherin, I welcome anyone who has questions to come to me. If I can't answer it, you can go to the senior prefects. If the prefects can't answer it, you can go find a professor. This is some trivial contribution I can make to Slytherin. I hope to see that one day, everyone in Slytherin is like a dragon. I hope to see that one day, every class, Slytherin students can take all the bonus points. I hope that we can make Slytherin the strongest house in Hogwarts. This is our glory." Chapter 67. All the little snakes felt a fire burning in their chests. It ignited instantly. Excited and excited. Every little wizard is extremely excited. Erwin looked at the eyes of these little wizards with satisfaction. Look how simple it is. He really loved the little wizard at this age. They have no brains, even Slytherins. They are easily incited. Likewise, because of the simplicity in their hearts, it's easy to spend your life fighting for some unfounded goals. This is the charm that comes from failed art students. Erwin realized. He seems to have found the track that suits him best. Erwin said, "I think many young wizards already know this. I brought up the matter of morning and evening self-study with Professor McGonagall. I know that many people don't understand, and many people are dissatisfied, because you feel that I wasted you. Rest time, wasting your playtime. It doesn't matter. I don't blame you. I don't expect everyone to understand me. However, I am willing to bear all the infamy, and all of this is because of a lot of learning. We make Slytherin stronger, and one day, the glory of Slytherin will be spread over every inch of the wizarding world." Erwin raised his head and looked at the ceiling at a 45-degree angle. His eyes were slightly moist. There is excitement on the face, but also sadness and frustration that are not understood. The eyes of all the little wizards were red. Their superior has actually done so much, and they were still complaining about the prefect in their hearts. And now they understand. Everything Erwin did was for their own good, willing to bear all the confusion and all the eyes, just to make Slytherin stronger. A tear dropped uncontrollably from the corner of the father-calling master's eyes. "Prefect Erwin, I understand. I'm sorry. I swear in the name of the Malfoy family, I will work hard and become stronger. For Slytherin, for the prefects, for everything I protect." The other little wizards also quickly expressed their opinions. Among them, there are many descendants of pure-blood families who swear an oath in the name of the family. Every little wizard's eyes were full of gratitude and excitement. Erwin nodded. Arriving in front of Malfoy, he placed his palm on Malfoy's shoulder. Malfoy lowered his head slightly. If this were the case before, our proud brother Law would never have done this. However, at this time, his heart was filled with conviction and gratitude to Erwin. He is willing to lower his proud head. Erwin said, "I think highly of you. Everyone, you are the pride of Slytherin. A few years later, I will think of you. At that time, I will still be proud to be your prefect. You are all the best. So, I believe, as long as you are here, the glory of Slytherin will be immortal." Malfoy felt his body instantly filled with power. The other little wizards also had similar symptoms. Erwin is so outstanding and dazzling. And Erwin actually said that he would be proud to be their prefect. This is more energetic than Red Moo with Jin. Erwin said, "Okay, it's time to go to class. The great Slytherin will never be late." All the little wizards nodded vigorously, then consciously get out of the way. Let Erwin leave first. On the stairs, two people were watching what was going on in the lounge. I also heard what Erwin said. The corners of Charlotte's mouth rose. He murmured, "Interesting, so interesting. Should I say you are worthy of being the inheritor? It's so interesting. No wonder they say you will be a natural leader. It seems that my 4 years at Hogwarts were not in vain. You really made me wait for you." Charlotte watched Erwin leave the common room surrounded by the snakes. Then he also took the 4th grade students to prepare for class. Except Charlotte, there is another person watching the movement in the lounge. That is Glodia, the hidden prefect of 7th grade, and the apparent prefect of Slytherin. Next to Glodia stood a 7th grade student. Said, "Prefect, Are you looking at it like this? Erwin's prestige in Slytherin is stronger than yours now. Grodya smiled and said, Isn't that normal? He started the prefect challenge, step by step. If anyone in Slytherin can complete the rules of the prefect, then this person must be Erwin. You are really generous. Aren't you afraid that Erwin will beat you? Grodya said, It is inevitable that he will defeat me. His magic power is too terrifying. Now I can fight with him just because I have more magic control than him. I am more flexible in fighting than him, but if he learns more spells, it's easy for him to defeat me. Prefect, are you really willing to do this? If I had given you an extra year, it would have been possible for you as a second grader to complete the prefect challenge. Grodya shook his head. You said it too. I am useless in the second grade. Erwin, he is a natural leader. I have been at Hogwarts for 7 years, and I have never seen such a united Slater. Lynn, although the little snakes of Slytherin are ambitious, they are too proud. They are so proud that they are lazy. They don't obey anyone. Therefore, compared with other colleges, we should be the strongest, just because we are not enough unity. And now, with Erwin here, I can already see that in the next 7 years, only our green flag will be hoisted in the auditorium at the end of the school year. Okay, according to what you said, there will be one more boss before I graduate, but fortunately, it won't be long. I really can't accept it, calling a junior a prefect. Grodya smiled. You are wrong. You might call him the first-year prefect. Okay, we should go to class. After speaking, Grodya turned around and walked downstairs. Behind him, the 7th grader was stunned for a moment. Then, the reaction came. Eyes suddenly widened. Does this mean that Erwin will not challenge Grodya until the end of the semester? And listen to what Grodya means. He still can't win. Doesn't that mean that their 7th grade class will soon have a 1st grade prefect? No, prefect. You have to stand up. While shouting, he chased after Grodya. Other side. Erwin led a group of Slytherin wizards towards the charms classroom. Erwin walked in front. A group of young wizards behind him consciously formed 2 lines. No one was whispering to each other on the road. Everyone walked forward with firm eyes. Not like a student, like a pilgrim going to worship. The young wizards from other colleges were stunned. Hogwarts has been reorganized? Has it been turned into a military school? When did it happen? No one informed me. You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 68. On the way, other little wizards saw this group of little snakes and quickly pulled over. Make way for the little snakes to pass first. Not to mention, the little snakes still think it's quite honorable. Arrive at the charms classroom. This class is with Hufflepuff's group of little badgers. If it weren't for Ravenclaw, Erwin would still be able to score points. Old Flitwick can't just target Slytherin, can he? Are you brave enough to try to teach me how to use the sword? Arrive at the charms classroom. Erwin took a seat with all the little snakes. Then one after another the little badgers came to the classroom. The school bell rang. Flitwick came to the classroom and still cast spells silently and silently. Serve directly. With those skillful movements, Erwin felt that Flitwick was the first to teach the levitation charm because it was the first basic spell, or because this was what Flitwick was best at. As usual, second class. It still won't be for the little wizards to cast spells directly. This thing is not that simple. Little wizards need to remember the spells and the movements of releasing the spells firmly before they can officially cast spells. Therefore, Erwin was pulled out as a teaching material to demonstrate the spell and then demonstrated the spellcasting movements. Flitwick let the little wizards practice on their own. He can just watch from the side. Look at the little wizards who have begun to practice spells with their hands instead of wands. Flitwick said, Erwin, come here. Erwin's eyes lit up. Come directly to the edge of the podium. Flitwick said, Your question last time. I went back to find some books and found a spell for you. It's a spell, but it's better to say it's a ritual similar to the loyalty curse. You can see the details yourself. As he spoke, Flitwick pointed his sharp finger at a book next to him. The book was opened directly, and then floated into Erwin's hands. Erwin quickly caught it. What an amazing ability to use magic, Professor. Flitwick had a somewhat smug look on his face. After all, his use of magic spells is indeed very strong, and he is well known in the entire magic world. Of course, we are only talking about the use of magic spells here. Erwin looked down at the book in his hand. The book is very thick and feels heavy in the hand, and the paper has turned yellow. It looks a bit old. It's full of curses. Next to the curse, there are some notes, obviously notes made by Flitwick. Erwin was a little greedy. This thing, like Professor McGonagall's notes and Snape's diary, are SSR-level props at least. Flitwick's sharp fingernails pointed at a spell. This is it, the sound transmission spell. This spell is very niche. There are not many people in the entire magic world who know it. Just as you asked, it is used for communication. However, no one uses this spell, because this magic spell has many restrictions. First of all, it must have the same magic power to connect them together. This one is almost impossible to complete. Erwin frowned. What about the person who invented this curse? Flitwick said, I checked. The people who invented this curse were a pair of conjoined twins, and later they were separated by means. But their magic power is exactly the same, because before they were separated, they were one person. Even the twins can't do this. Therefore, even if this curse appears, no one can use it. Erwin nodded. Professor, can I borrow this book? Flitwick said, I'm sorry, Erwin. This book cannot be used. There are too many spells recorded in it. There are many spells that are not something you can master at your age. Of course, I have no idea about your strength. Doubt it. It's just that some spells are too dangerous. But if you want, you can go to my office. In your free time, you can read it. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me. Erwin understood and was not surprised. You can tell from the weight of this book that there are almost a massive amount of magic spells in it. There might even be a lot of black magic in it. These kind of things are the kind of books that cannot be placed in the restricted area. But it was a surprise to be able to make Flitwick relent and go to the office to read it. And it's like finding a tutor in disguise. Erwin said, Thank you very much, Professor. Flitwick waved his hand. It doesn't matter. Your idea of morning and evening self-study is very good. Ravenclaw students all like it. I can see that you are a student who really loves knowledge. It's a pity that you went to Sri Lanka Litlan. In fact, I think the sorting hat may have been watered and there are some problems. You should come to Ravenclaw. I think I should take the time to tell Dumbledore and ask you to transfer to another house. The corners of Erwin's mouth twitched slightly. What a little old man. I'm just looking for a tutor, and you're planning to poach me directly. The Divine Edge, which almost became the fourth most powerful unforgivable curse, is about to move on Snape's wand. Erwin said, Thank you for your support. Flitwick waved his hand. Have you memorized this spell? I don't think this is of any use to you, because no one can use this spell. Erwin nodded. I took note of it. Professor Flitwick. Thank you again. Flitwick said, It doesn't matter. Then you can go back to your place and practice. If you can, help me teach those little wizards. You know, it is still very troublesome to get on and off the table. Erwin smiled. Of course, it's an honor. After Erwin returned to his position, some little snakes heard Flitwick's words and had already taken the initiative to ask for advice. Erwin also welcomes everyone. Teach carefully. After all, he, Erwin, is a qualified prefect. As for the little wizard performing well and getting extra points after that, this is just a coincidence. He definitely doesn't do it just for points. Some of the little Hufflepuff wizards were also interested and wanted to ask Erwin, but because of Erwin's reputation and Slytherin's reputation, some hesitation. Erwin looked at it and wondered how this was possible. Isn't this purely undermining unity? Hogwarts is my home, and we are all one big family. Everyone in the family is a good leak. Bah, that's not right. They are all family. How could Erwin care about one thing and neglect the other? Erwin looked at the little badgers. If you have any questions, you can come to me. We are all classmates. There is no need to stick to the academy. We will always be together in the next few years. After Erwin finished speaking, two little badgers had the courage to come over and ask Erwin for advice on the angle and strength of waving the wand. Erwin also informed them one by one. This time, all the little badgers became bold. Chapter 69. On the podium, Flitwick paid no attention to the class, which had become a bit noisy as students ran to Erwin for advice. Instead, he looked at Erwin with relief. Look, what a good student. What a worry-free student. He is strong in his own abilities, and yet he doesn't forget to help his classmates. Such a person should come to Ravenclaw. Although now Ravenclaw has Hermione, who is already very good. But who thinks there are too many good students? Flitwick once again determined that the sorting hat must be short-circuited. That's why Ravenclaw was assigned to Slytherin. Wouldn't such a simple student suffer in an environment like Slytherin? Flitwick once again had the idea of looking for Dumbledore. Erwin taught these young wizards, while thinking about the sound transmission spell in his mind. This thing cannot be used by others, mainly because of the magic power from the same source. Even if they are twins, their magic power is different. No matter how insignificant the difference is, it is still a difference. However, this limitation is for Erwin. It doesn't seem to be a restriction. I said it before. Erwin's purple lotus mark is produced by the system, so it has a somewhat special function. Take the dark mark as an example. The dark mark has 3 functions. The first one is to allow the Death Eaters to turn into that black ball and fly around. This is the customized version of the function of the leader of the Force. The second function is that Voldemort can sense the location of the Death Eaters through the dark mark. The third function is that Death Eaters can contact Voldemort through the dark mark. Of course, this contact is not through voice or video, but when they activate the dark mark, Voldemort can sense it. To put it simply, cough, 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 your friend is online. Yes, just online. Erwin's purple lotus mark has these 3 functions. However, compared to the dark mark, Erwin's purple lotus mark has an additional great function. That is, Erwin can inject magic power into the purple lotus mark. This function was added to the system to allow Erwin to directly control the life and death of the person marked by the purple lotus through this magic power. If anyone has any bad intentions, Erwin can directly detonate this magic power. Just like old Tom, he was able to enter Diagon Alley because of Erwin's magic power on his arm, which allowed him to break away from the ranks of Muggles and join the ranks of Squibs. Although he cannot use magic, he is immune to the Muggle expelling curse because of the magic left by Erwin. And it is precisely because of the existence of this function. Let Erwin discover that he can really use this sound transmission spell. They have the same origin, and the magic comes from him. Isn't that the same origin? The most important thing is that this ability cannot be copied by others. The magic will dissipate. But Erwin's system-modified version of the purple lotus mark can lock the magic power inside the purple lotus mark. Even if Voldemort knew the principle, he couldn't do it. It can be said that this sound transmission spell is completely customized for Erwin. However, the theory has been established, specifically whether it can be successful. Erwin felt that he still needed to find a suitable test subject. Erwin is a steady man. As the saying goes, true knowledge comes from experimentation. The launch of every new product requires hard work. But who should I look for this test subject? Erwin was a little confused. Slytherin student? Erwin had just established a selfless prefect image and made a purple lotus mark. No matter how you put it, it doesn't seem like a decent person. Especially this thing. It is very famous in the magic world. It would be strange not to know the name of the dark mark. This can easily affect Erwin's character. The little snakes are small, but they are not stupid. His only follower, Barton? It also seems a bit inappropriate. Barton is related to Erwin's plan for pure blood. What to do if you play to death? That's not worth the loss. In other words, Barton still has value. I can die, but I can't die now. The most important thing is that the experiment is risky, so Erwin cannot choose the little wizard. If this really kills him, he will really go to Azkaban. Then who else? Without being able to leave Hogwarts. Hagrid? No, even if the idiot is a supplier, he can't die. Just then, Erwin's eyes suddenly lit up. No one seems to have said that the test subject must be a human being, right? Erwin suddenly felt his thoughts clear. It seems that a trip to the Forbidden Forest is necessary. Big spiders and centaurs. Aren't these the best experimental materials? It doesn't hurt to play to death, and it has no use value. Erwin has determined the goal of his experiment, and it looks like he has to take a walk in the Forbidden Forest. Those things in the Forbidden Forest must welcome Erwin. After all, Erwin still has the ability to bond with magical animals. He hasn't tried it yet. Charms class was followed by herbology class. Nothing extra happened. The herbology class with the Ravenclaws was not the least bit lively to watch. The afternoon class was a bit boring. Don't tell me, Erwin really misses Gryffindor. Without Gryffindor, there seems to be a lot less fun. In the auditorium at night. After eating, Erwin was called to the office by Professor McGonagall. Sit down, Erwin. Erwin nodded. Without being polite, he sat down on the chair. Professor McGonagall, are you looking for me for morning and evening self-study? Professor McGonagall nodded. Yes. Yes, the professors are still very supportive. However, there is a problem. If you take self-study classes, the professors will be a little busy. Erwin was happy. What he was waiting for was for Professor McGonagall to ask him. Erwin said, Professor McGonagall, that's what I think. Professors are very tired after a day of classes, and they also need to prepare lessons. Self-study, self-study. To put it bluntly, it is self-study. I think we can completely let the prefects responsible for guidance. Students in lower grades can ask seniors in higher grades, or communicate with classmates to promote learning. In fact, to put it bluntly, Self-study is used to organize what has been learned that day. The professor does not play a big role, after all. You can't ask professors to teach new content, right? In this way, students won't be able to absorb so much knowledge. Professor McGonagall nodded. That's it? If you put it like that, I understand. What a great idea. I'm really curious about what's in your head. If that's the case, then self-study should be done. It can be implemented. Today is Thursday. Let's start trying it next week. Erwin raised the corners of his mouth. It's done. The road to earning points is already smooth. Young wizards, is this 1 hour of rest time, 2 hours of rest time, or endless rest time from now on? Chapter 70. After leaving Professor McGonagall's office, Erwin went to Snape's office as usual. Not to mention, helping Snape these days has been really helpful to Erwin. There are many herbs that Erwin has no access to at this stage, but here with Snape, he can operate it one by one, and you don't have to worry about waste. Erwin carefully cut off the root of the medicinal material in his hand, and then gently set it aside. Then he breathed a sigh of relief. He couldn't help but be careful. The thing he was dealing with now was going to explode. Erwin never understood why potions in the magical world were so hellish. They use all kinds of strange herbs. It bites, it barks, it explodes. Compared with these horrific effects, all poisonous herbs are simply mild varieties. Snape nodded with satisfaction. Erwin is getting more and more skilled now. And in the past few days, even when dealing with dangerous herbs, I have never made any mistakes. Although his technique was green, Erwin's learning ability really amazed Snape. Once you get started, it doesn't take long for Erwin to become familiar with it. This made Snape feel that Erwin was born for potions. Erwin took off his dragonhide gloves. Okay, Professor Snape, if there is nothing else, I plan to go back first. Snape frowned, glancing at Erwin. You seem to be in a hurry today. Snape was confused. You know, usually Erwin will not leave his office before 11 or 12 o'clock. Even after finishing the work at hand, Erwin would observe Snape's potion refining process. Especially some details. This is the experience that only a potion master has. Of course Erwin wouldn't miss it. Here's Snape's words. Erwin quickly said, No, I just feel a little tired today. Snape glanced at Erwin suspiciously. I always feel like Erwin has some weird idea. Snape waved his hand. Go back and rest when you are tired. Read more of the diary I gave you, especially the part about the brain awakening potion. Come here tomorrow, and you have to start refining it. Erwin's eyes lit up. Is Snape planning to guide him in refining the potion? This is a good thing. Although the brain-refreshing potion is just a basic potion, Snape can teach him this now. Will the elixir be far behind? Sooner or later Snape would have to pay for it. Erwin nodded. Okay, Professor, I understand. After saying that, Erwin turned and left Snape's office. Snape looked at Erwin's back. After thinking about it, he continued to work on the potion in his hand. However, the movement has sped up a little. After Erwin left Snape's office, there was no rush to get to the Forbidden Forest. Instead, he returned to the Slytherin Lounge first. For night tours, you have to wait until it's late at night. It's only after 10 o'clock. Too early. The little wizards haven't slept yet. After all, young people are more energetic. However, they can only enjoy it for a few days. Starting next Monday, they will feel the pain of not getting enough sleep that all students in Dacia have experienced. TSK. It's really heartbreaking to think about it. The reason is that Erwin wants to come back early. That's because he also needs to take a break. That's the Forbidden Forest. Even he couldn't rush in carelessly. There are too many strange things there. There are too many dangers. Erwin had to keep himself full of energy. After shouting the command, the door to the lounge opened. Erwin walked into the common room. Some young wizards who were chatting in the hall saw Erwin. Stand up quickly. Salute respectfully. Prefect? Erwin pressed his hand. Talk about you. I'm going to rest first. Don't be too late. All the little wizards nodded. Late at night, Erwin opened his eyes from the bed, yawned, listened carefully. There was silence. Erwin stretched. It's time to get down to business. As a clan leader, Erwin is really busy and has endured too much at his young age. Coming to the window, Erwin opened it. Then his body swayed and turned into a purple smoke, flying towards the Forbidden Forest. Passed by Hagrid's hut. The lights were still on in Hagrid's hut. Erwin flew at a low altitude without alerting the Forbidden Forest guard. Erwin, who was running fast, didn't see it. Ji-hong, Hogwarts headmaster's office. Dumbledore stood by the window, looking at him. In the dark, a flash of light reflected from the moonlight on Dumbledore's glasses. Like his father, He chose to go to the Forbidden Forest for his first night outing. What a brave little guy. On the wall, one portrait said, "You saw him go to the Forbidden Forest, and you are still here? Why didn't you stop him? Is the Forbidden Forest a place where little wizards can go?" Dumbledore picked up a candied date from the side and put it into his mouth. His eyes narrowed, his face full of satisfaction. What a magical summer food. There are such elves in Hogwarts. I never knew about it. I feel like I missed so much. I never have to worry about Erwin's safety. There will naturally be people sitting there can't live. Dumbledore looked at the black smoke flying out of the castle. He shook his head and yawned. He snapped his fingers lightly. She put on a set of pajamas that looked a little funny. "I'm old. Go to sleep. I hope our little Slytherin guy won't make too much noise. As an old man, I really don't want to be disturbed in my sleep." Purple smoke fell directly on the ground of the Forbidden Forest. As the smoke gradually dissipated, Erwin reveals his true face. Erwin touched his chin. "Where are those big spiders?" Erwin realized something very bad. That is, the Forbidden Forest was too big. He didn't know where to find those spiders. Think for a moment. According to the records in the original book, those spiders were deep in the Forbidden Forest. After all, this thing can't be kept outside the Forbidden Forest. But the depths of the Forbidden Forest are also a very large area. Just when Erwin was thinking about what to do, suddenly, Erwin heard a series of small sounds coming from the grass. Erwin turned his head and looked curiously. All I saw was the grass. A green thing stumbled out. He jumped up to Erwin's feet, started to circle around Erwin's feet. Erwin's eyes lit up. "Crouch down. Reach out." The thing jumped directly into Erwin's hand. "The bowtruckle? Why are you here, little thing?" Erwin raised his finger and tapped the bowtruckle leaves. Bowtruckle rubbed Erwin's finger, his little face with almost invisible facial features full of enjoyment. "With the picture of Bowtruckle, I quite like this thing. It looks a bit like Groot, but there is no tree trunk." Chapter 71. Erwin knew that his affinity with magical animals played a role. Bowtruckle is a very kind and shy plant. They have an interesting ability, which is that they can take on all leaf shapes. It's also very cute outside. However, if you underestimate it because of its appearance, you are wrong. As you can tell from the name of this thing, their duty is to protect. Protect the trees that make wand material. Therefore, their combat effectiveness is actually not weak. And if someone wants to mine wand materials, they need the bowtruckle's permission. Of course, as long as you don't want to cut off the roots of the tree, Bowtruckle will not disagree. All in all, this little guy has a good temper. He is also one of the few magical animals that can communicate with wizards. However, it is impossible for them to actively approach people. In particular, the Bowtruckle cannot leave the trees it protects. And being able to run to Erwin now is obviously because of Erwin's ability to be friendly with magical animals. The Bowtruckle waved his branches, flicking gently on Erwin's hand. Erwin couldn't help but smile. "Little guy, I'm looking for the eight-eyed spider. Have you seen it?" After hearing this, Bowtruckle waved his branches quickly. There was also some anxiety on the little face. There were also squeaking sounds coming from his mouth. Erwin was surprised to find that he could understand this little guy's words. Erwin said, "I know they are dangerous, but I am not weak either. Can you take me to find them?" Bowtruckle hesitated. Then he nodded slightly. Then he jumped directly from Erwin's palm. He fell on the ground and fell. But he quickly stood up and shook off the dirt on his body. He moved his legs made of roots and trotted forward. Erwin laughed dumbly. This little thing is so cute. Erwin raised his feet and followed the Bowtruckle toward the depths of the Forbidden Forest. The little guy was jumping up and down in front. Stop now and then. Then he pointed to some herbs on the ground. The meaning is obvious. Let Erwin pick. Erwin was not polite either. They picked them all directly, and Erwin even found a large piece of moongrass. I have to say that this Forbidden Forest is indeed a treasure. This little Bowtruckle is also a treasure. This little guy seems to be changing his job as a treasure hunter. As the Bowtruckle led Erwin deeper, the surrounding light is getting darker and darker. Big trees blocked the moonlight. Only some scattered moonlight fell down. According to the settings of general novels, there are also settings of the original work. Erwin should use lighting at this time. Erwin flipped his wrist. The next moment, a flashlight appeared in Erwin's hand. Can you eat fried cakes? Illumination does not require magic power. Moreover, Erwin didn't learn at all. Ever since cheating, Erwin has become lazy and hasn't read a book by himself for a long time. I have to say that hanging up is really too corrosive to a person's ambition. The Bowtruckle jumped curiously into Erwin's hand. I walked around the flashlight and studied it up and down for a while. He made 2 sounds. Oh, this is a flashlight. Do you like it? But this one is too big. I have a small one for you. As he spoke, Erwin took out a small ornament-like thing from the space ring. It is said to be a flashlight, but it is actually a small toy that lights up. Erwin hung it on Bowtruckle's body. There is a button here. If you press it, it will light up. Bowtruckle lifted the note and pressed it. A glimmer of light came on. The Bowtruckle jumped twice on Erwin's hand. Very excited. Erwin looked around. Some spider silk can already be seen in some places. As expected, the Acromantula group is not far away. Erwin said, "Little guy, go back. Wait until I have time to see you again. Take your time and play. Wait until I come to bring you a replacement battery next time." Bowtruckle was a little reluctant to leave. He rubbed Erwin's fingers. Erwin smiled and said, "Be good. I will come to see you as soon as possible. You can sense my breath. When I come again, just come to me directly." After hearing this, Bowtruckle nodded. Then he turned around 3 times and left full of reluctance. Erwin stood there and watched the Bowtruckle leave. Then he continued to go deeper inside. After all, the Bowtruckle is so small, and the scene where he conducts experiments will definitely not be so harmonious. What if I scare this little guy? Erwin is a decent person. Erwin walked inside with his flashlight on. Something is wrong. Under normal circumstances, shouldn't these Acromantulas take the initiative to attack him? Look around. There are more and more cobwebs. We have obviously arrived at the Acromantula's habitat. Just then, Erwin swept his flashlight forward. Then he almost died of fright. F***K. I saw a big head of a dog peeking out from behind a big tree. The 2 rows of eyes above are shining green. Several furry spider legs were digging into the ground. Looking at Erwin curiously. What the hell? Why does this thing make no sound when walking? Where did it come from? But this Acromantula didn't attack him immediately? It seems to be the effect of the affinity with this magical animal. Erwin suddenly felt that the ability of this magical animal to be friendly was even more outrageous than he imagined. Erwin waved his hand at the Acromantula. "Come here, big guy." The Acromantula hesitated for a moment. Then he walked on his furry spider legs to a place not far from Erwin. He looked at Erwin warily. Erwin didn't expect that this guy would actually come over. So, his ability can make magical animals understand his words? This is a bit interesting. Isn't this the Super Plus version of Parseltongue? Erwin said, "Big guy, you can understand what I say, right?" Acromantula nodded. Erwin said, "I need to test a magic. This magic will not harm you. Can you cooperate with me?" "No harm?" "Maybe." Erwin thought it wouldn't be a big problem anyway. It's just a sound transmission spell. Acromantula heard this. Startled. His feet kept moving backwards. Obviously, it is very resistant. Erwin quickly said, "Don't be afraid. You help me, and I will give you meat." As he spoke, Erwin threw a huge ham directly from the space ring. Of course, this was what Erwin prepared before coming to Hogwarts. Erwin didn't know why he was preparing this thing. Anyway, he saw it when he was passing by the kitchen and put it up. It seems to be in use now. Chapter 72. The Acromantula smelled the scent of ham. Somewhat restless. It's greedy. Erwin struck while the iron was hot. "Want to eat it? Come here for more. Let me test it. This ham is yours. Believe me. This is delicious food that you will never be able to eat in your life. Excellent ham. It's very expensive." Several spider legs of the Acromantula have begun to trample restlessly on the ground. Obviously, I am already very greedy. Finally, the Acromantula couldn't bear it anymore. He walked slowly towards ham. The distance to Erwin is getting closer and closer. Erwin's eyes lit up. A flick of the wrist. The next moment, the ham simply disappears. The Acromantula has not yet reacted. The ham just disappeared. The next moment, a burst of magic power hit the Acromantula directly. The Acromantula was directly pushed down by this tyrannical magic power. Eat, eat, eat. You know how to eat. You're going to have to eat such an expensive ham. The Acromantula's small head was full of doubts. I don't know why I was fine just now, but why did the human being in front of me suddenly change his face? But the Acromantula will not sit back and wait for death. As soon as he opened his mouth, a ball of spider silk was sprayed towards Erwin. Erwin's feet jumped. Directly avoid the direction where the spider silk is coming. "Oh, how dare you fight back? Little thing." Erwin immediately pulled out his wand. The divine edge is shadowless. The next moment, Several invisible rays of energy struck at the legs of the acromantula. A few chi-chi-chi-kais. The acromantula screamed. The spider legs had already moved away from it. Erwin picked his ears. The wand was pressed against the acromantula. Quiet! You've disturbed me. If you make any noise again, the next curse will be directed at your head. The acromantula was frightened. The look in Erwin's eyes was filled with horror. Devil, this is a real devil. Who are the 5x level magical creatures? This human being is so cruel. Acromantula regretted in his heart. It shouldn't be out of curiosity to check, because it feels the aura that makes it unable to resist getting close to it. Sure enough, humans are the most cunning creatures, and they actually trap 5x level magical creatures. Erwin took out 2 aluminum barrels from the magic ring. Place it in front of the acromantula. Now, I'm testing the magic spell. Don't be idle. Spit out venom for me. Spit out as much as you can. Don't be lazy. Otherwise, I'll kill you. Acromantula almost cried. I really shouldn't go out today. This human being is so terrifying. But it doesn't dare to be disobedient. All he could do was spit venom into the bucket, and Erwin nodded with satisfaction. The venom of the 8-eyed spider is quite valuable. Later, Erwin came behind the acromantula. The wand touched the acromantula's body, and the next moment, the purple lotus mark began to slowly form. It didn't take long for it to take shape. Erwin felt it. Oh, it really works. This thing can actually be depicted on magical animals. I don't know if it's the exclusive ability of my purple lotus mark, or if the dark mark can also do it. However, this is not important. Now it's time to get down to business. Erwin recalled the teleportation spell recorded in Flitwick's book in his mind. It's said to be a sound transmission spell, but it's more like the magic circle scene in cartoons before Erwin traveled through time. The function is to connect the same magic power. Achieve the purpose of communication. Erwin waved his wand slowly. Then, streams of magic power flowed out of the wand. A pattern is outlined on the purple lotus mark. After a while, Erwin stopped, aiming the flashlight at the purple lotus mark. With the outline of the pattern, the purple lotus mark becomes more three-dimensional. It looks pretty good. Erwin couldn't wait to try the effect. Then Erwin closed his eyes. Channel your own magic. In an instant, Erwin felt that he had some strange connection with the acromantula. A hoarse voice sounded in Erwin's ears. It hurts so much. It hurts so much. I'm so tired. Evil humans. Erwin looked surprised. Is this the voice of the acromantula? Erwin's face was full of surprise. It's really doable. However, this thing seems to be unable to achieve the effect Erwin wants. Erwin didn't just use this thing to communicate with others. He really planned to open a connection in the magic world. Erwin groped his chin. First of all, he has confirmed that he can indeed use this sound transmission spell. Then, if he wants to make money, he needs 2 conditions. The first one is the phone bill, the second one is the mobile phone number. As for phone bills, Erwin is a qualified capitalist. Bah, that's not right. Is a smart person. He has already thought of a way. First of all, the purple lotus mark can lock Erwin's magic power. But when using the sound transmission spell, Erwin felt that some of the magic power stored in the purple lotus mark on the acromantula was consumed. Although the purple lotus mark soon absorbed the magic power from the acromantula, used to complement the purple lotus mark, which is one of the characteristics of the purple lotus mark. But if the purple lotus mark is imprinted on a dead object, it won't be like this. As for what others have added, this is also impossible. Only those who are branded with the purple lotus mark can convert their magic power through the purple lotus mark and then charge the purple lotus mark. This is also one of the special places where the system produces the purple lotus mark. So now we just need a mobile phone number. The mobile phone number is used to distinguish the different places marked by each purple lotus. At least you know who to call when you call. What to do about this? Erwin thought for a moment. If you want to get something like a mobile phone number, it is necessary to distinguish each purple lotus mark. So what's the simplest way? Erwin's eyes lit up. Magic. Yes, it's magic power. Everyone's magic power is different. Even if they are twins, their magic power is slightly different. Only the pair of conjoined children who created the sound transmission spell have exactly the same magic power. Therefore, recording the difference in magic power is the best way. So what to do? Erwin had some general ideas in mind. When outlining the sound transmission spell, blend different magic powers into it. Can it achieve the effect? Erwin thought he could give it a try. Erwin turned to look at the big spider. Planned to start a new round of experiments. However, Erwin turned his head. I was surprised to find that the big spider was out of breath. Erwin was angry. Why are you dead? You're a 5x level magical creature. It's nothing. It's so fragile. Erwin waved his wand and cast the levitating spell. Directly throw the spider's body away. Subsequently, Erwin prepares to find another experimental target. Scan with flashlight. Hey, another lucky guy has appeared. Erwin, take out the ham from the space ring. Place it on the ground. Hey, big guy, do you want some meat? You can read more daily new novels on fictionzone.net. Both sites share the same login details, so you don't need to sign up again. Chapter 73. Erwin knows his way around. Seducing the acromantula with the old actor ham. After all, these things are the most gluttonous. Erwin felt that he could easily get a test subject without any problem. However, the next moment, something unexpected happened to Erwin. I saw this acromantula actually turned around and started running away. That's fast. Erwin was stunned for a moment. There was no response for several seconds. What the hell? You ran away? Erwin understood. The acromantula must have seen its companion being deceived by him. That's why he runs so fast. Sure enough, when you do bad things, you can't have an audience. This is very unfavorable for Erwin to do bad things a second time. Erwin put the ham away with a wave of his hand. Weirdly expensive. It can't be wasted. How can I escape from you, a sliced cake seller? You evil beast, how can you escape? Then, Erwin's figure flickered. A cloud of purple smoke rose into the sky and chased in the direction where the acromantula was fleeing. It took just 2 lines to say, "The acromantula has run away." Erwin chased the acromantula deeper and deeper into the forbidden forest. Came to an open space. Erwin fell to the ground. The purple smoke slowly dispersed. Erwin looked around. There is a noticeable increase in spider webs on the trees. There are many big trees with big holes. Erwin thought this place looked familiar. Oh, I remembered it. This is the lair of the acromantula in the original work. That's what it's called. Oh yes, where Aragog is. At this moment, from inside a tree hole, an acromantula that looked larger than the average acromantula crawled out of the tree hole. Erwin knew that this was Aragog. With Aragog appearing, acromantulas also emerged from the surrounding tree holes. Soon, Erwin was surrounded by acromantulas. Aragog said, "Little wizard, this is not the place you should come. Why do you appear here?" Erwin raised his hand, intending to point to the acromantula he had just chased and explain. However, what made Erwin helpless was, what the hell? Why do these spiders all look the same? Have no choice. Erwin lowered his hand. I'm testing a new spell. I've reached the key point of the experiment, but what? The acromantula just ran away. So, can you provide me with an acromantula for me to test? Aragog was silent. It is true that it is wise, but what it hears is so strange. In front of a group of people, say you want to find an experimental target? This little wizard really didn't take them seriously. They are spiders, acromantulas, 5x level magical creatures. Are you so disrespectful? The world outside has changed so much now. Acromantulas are no longer taken seriously? Before Aragog could react, Erwin said, "Oh yes, one more thing. Give me some venom." As he spoke, Erwin turned his palms. The next moment, aluminum barrels fell to the ground. This was all prepared by Erwin in advance. He knew that there was an acromantula in the Forbidden Forest, and he also knew that the acromantula's venom was quite easy to sell. How could Erwin miss this opportunity? As a successful capitalist, plucking Yingwa's hair is what he should do. Aragog's voice was a little angry. "Little wizard, you are too presumptuous. I promised Hagrid not to attack humans. If you leave now, I can pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, I can guarantee that even if you are a student of Gvaz, you won't leave here alive either." Erwin waved his hand. "Don't be so angry. Didn't I discuss this with you? You honestly let me do the experiment. Give me some more venom, and I'll leave after I'm done. In fact, I don't really like what you have here either. It's too smelly." Aragog began to pace on the ground with several spider legs. "You are too presumptuous. You asked for this. My sons and daughters haven't eaten meat for a long time. Since you don't want to leave, then stay and let my sons eat. Although they are not full, they can still eat it. Have a taste." Aragog finished. The acromantulas around him began to move restlessly towards Erwin. The huge mouthparts shone with a cold light. Erwin sighed. "You tell me, I'll tell you properly. Why are you so ignorant?" As he spoke, Erwin flipped his wrist. The next moment, 2 grenades appeared in Erwin's hands. With so many spiders, of course Erwin couldn't use magic spells. How much magic power is wasted? And Erwin doesn't know how to use group attack spells. Aragog looked at the grenade in Erwin's hand. He sneered and said, "Why? Are you going to use these two things against the enemy? The little wizard now doesn't even have a wand?" Erwin shook his head. What an ignorant spider. Still ugly. In comparison, the spider spirit in Journey to the West is still more beautiful. Why are there such big differences between Eastern and Western mythology? Erwin directly unplugged the grenade. Then he threw the grenade directly. The grenade bounced in the air. There was a crisp sound, and then fell to the ground. An acromantula walked over curiously. The next moment, there was a loud bang. The fragments of the grenade explosion shot out in all directions. As for Erwin, then he had already cast the iron armor curse on himself. It is more important to be safe in everything. In case of accidental injury, the loss will outweigh the gain. Stable, very stable. The closest acromantula was blown to pieces. Erwin was speechless. What a pity. A good venom donor is gone. Aragog was startled. The body retreated involuntarily. The explosion produced flames. Fire, for all creatures, is in awe from the heart. What is this? Is it some new magic item? Erwin mocked. You be ****. Where's your second father? Magic? I'll give you 2 more. As he spoke, Erwin turned his hands over, and there were 2 more grenades. There were 2 loud bangs. Several more acromantulas were blown away directly. Erwin touched his chin. The speed is a bit slow, and it's not enough. Aragog was terrified. Hiding behind a group of acromantulas, was about to speak, but suddenly he saw a very strange thing appear in front of Erwin. A thick round tube with several small tubes on it. There is a bracket underneath. The round tube is also wrapped in 2 shields. Erwin stood behind the shield. Dear magical creatures, let's meet the M134 minigun. Oh, by the way, it also has another name, the Great Compassionate Gatling Bodhisattva. I spent a lot of effort to get this thing. If it weren't for this gun stand, I really wouldn't be able to use this thing. Chapter 74. Erwin finished speaking. Minigan's 6 gun barrels began to rotate. The next moment, the bullets turned into streaks of red light and flew out towards the acromantulas. The bullets swept out directly, penetrate the bodies of these acromantulas. Even the surrounding big trees were directly penetrated. On the ground, the bullet casings made a clanging sound as they fell to the ground. Erwin had a smile on his lips. His eyes were full of evil. This is a man's toy. This is art. A large number of acromantulas were penetrated by bullets. A blackened circular bullet hole was left on his body. The acromantula's voice became increasingly miserable. The arc of Erwin's mouth became wider and wider. So tired. Really so tired. After coming to Hogwarts, I couldn't do this or that, and I was afraid of being too harsh. He really needed to indulge once more. These spiders are such good people. Under Erwin's control, minigun did not reach its maximum rate of fire. That's about 200 shots per minute. Otherwise, Erwin wouldn't be able to control it at all. This thing, even for an adult special soldier, can only keep him at 2,000 rounds per minute. I can hold on for 2 minutes. You know, this thing is used to hit things flying in the sky. Row is so. Erwin indulged himself for over a minute. Still couldn't help but let go of his hand. My hands hurt from the shock. Erwin stepped out from behind the shield. The ground in front of him has been wiped out by bullets. The tree trunks were covered with wounds. A large number of acromantula branches were scattered everywhere. Erwin frowned in disgust. The remaining acromantula huddled on the ground, shivering. Erwin shouted, "Is that big spider still alive? Come out and show your face." Aragog looked up from the ground. "Several spider legs are trembling you. You are simply a devil." Erwin spread his hands. "Maybe, but this is not important. Now, can you cooperate with me?" Aragog said. "What on earth are you going to do?" Erwin said, "Didn't I tell you? I'm just testing a spell. I'm collecting some venom, by the way." Aragog wanted to curse. 30% of its children are dead. Died by Erwin's strange weapon. Erwin saw that Aragog was silent. He frowned. "Are you still unwilling? You are really looking for death." As he spoke, Erwin prepared to sacrifice his great merciful and compassionate Gatling Bodhisattva again. Aragog said quickly, I do. Whatever you want. You can do it. Don't use that weapon again." Erwin nodded with satisfaction. "That's right. I came to talk to you sincerely, but you forced me to use force. Now, pick up the aluminum bucket and produce venom for me." Aragog sighed. It didn't dare to resist. It just wanted to send Erwin away quickly. This is simply a devil. Several eight-eyed spiders ran to the aluminum barrel. Use spider silk to pull the aluminum bucket in front of you. Start spitting venom into it. Erwin frowned. How can I vomit cleanly? Hang yourself on a tree and then vomit. Vomit cleanly. Aragog was shocked. Is this really a person? Erwin said coldly. Didn't you hear what I said? Aragog was startled. He shouted angrily. Do as he says. Hurry up. Those acromantulas quickly spit out spider silk and hung themselves on the tree. Then pour the venom upside down. From a distance, I thought it was some kind of weird production line. Erwin was very satisfied. Is this how to put it clean? Then, Erwin set his sights on Aragog. What are you waiting for? Aragog was stunned for a moment. Do I also want to use venom? Erwin was shocked. Aren't you an acromantula? Aragog was unable to argue. I can only hang myself on the tree. Erwin looked at the acromantulas hanging on the tree and starting to produce venom. That's called satisfaction. Then Erwin picked a lucky guy. You, come here. The acromantula named by Erwin moved its legs tremblingly and came to Erwin. Keep your body flat on the ground. Lie down and stretch your body. Erwin was very satisfied with the acromantula's knowledge. See, magical creatures are actually easier to communicate with than humans. Erwin pulled out his wand and began his own experiment. The previous process is the same. Just when describing the sound transmission spell, Erwin extracted a ray of magic power from the acromantula. Combine your own magic power with that of the acromantula to form a new paint. Erwin began to carve out the speaking spell. Soon, the lines were outlined by Erwin. Erwin patted the acromantula on the head. Hey, big guy, are you still alive? The poor acromantula raised its head, gnawed vigorously. Erwin was happy. Sure enough, he is a genius. Doesn't this mean the experiment was successful? Erwin touched the acromantula's mind. Good boy. You helped me a lot. Acromantula was a little excited. It survived. But the next moment, Erwin's wand touched the acromantula's head. The divine edge is shadowless. The next moment, this acromantula was directly killed by Shun Feng Wuing. Aragog suddenly became anxious. Why? Why do you still kill it? I have asked them to cooperate with you. Why do you still kill my children? Erwin put his finger to his mouth. Shh, don't make any noise. You have so many children. This is just a small problem. Aragog was shaking with anger. Erwin frowned. Don't shake. If you spill my venom on the ground, believe me, your tribe will disappear. Aragog looked at Erwin, not doubting the authenticity of Erwin's words. Erwin said with satisfaction, That's right. Then, it's getting late. Keep spitting out venom and fill my aluminum bucket. It's time for me to go back to sleep. Aragog said, Impossible. This aluminum barrel is too big. The venom reserve in my child's body cannot be filled. Erwin wondered, Is that so? Aragog said, I can help you fill it, but they really can't. But I have a lot of children, and they can help you fill it up. Erwin thought for a moment. I think you are lying to me. I have to verify it. How do you verify it? Erwin raised the corners of his mouth. It's very simple. Erwin waved the wand in his hand. The divine edge is shadowless. The next moment, the chest cavity of an acromantula on the side was directly torn apart. The acromantula cried out in pain. He twitched a few times and stopped moving. Erwin came to the acromantula. Wand waved. From the chest, a green poison sac flew out. Erwin pulled out an aluminum bucket. Pour out all the venom from the poison sac. Soon, an aluminum bucket was filled. Erwin smiled and said, Look, you are really lying to me. Chapter 75. Aragog said, If you take away all the venom in the poison sac, you will die. You can't do this. Erwin smiled. In this dark forest, Erwin's smile was particularly bright. But, what does your death have to do with me? However, considering how cooperative you are today, I can't go too far. Forget it. No matter what, just help me fill up these aluminum barrels. Come on. Who told me that I am always more generous? Aragog breathed a sigh of relief. I don't want to worry about the fact that Erwin just killed another of its children. Anyway, it can be born and created. If you die, just die. Not long after, 3 waves of acromantulas came to work. The aluminum drum is filled. The venom of a living acromantula is quite valuable. Aragog said, Now, you can leave. Aragog's voice was a little weak. After all, it also spits out a lot of venom. The consumption of it is also very large. Erwin wondered, Leave? But you haven't vomited the aluminum bucket full yet. Aragog was stunned for a moment. We are obviously full. Erwin waved his hand and put away the aluminum barrels. It's harmful. It's my fault that I didn't make it clear. I still have an aluminum barrel here, Erwin said and waved his hand again. The next moment, more aluminum barrels than before appeared on the ground. Aragog was furious. You? The smile on Erwin's face instantly faded. Me? What's wrong? Aragog could only break his teeth and swallow it. Nothing. Is this the last wave? Erwin nodded. Of course. Don't worry. I have a good reputation. Everyone knows it. Aragog was unable to complain. Half an hour later, satisfied, Erwin put away the aluminum barrels. On the ground, each acromantula has taken in more air and lost less air. Too weak, Erwin said. Okay. Thank you for your generosity. Aragog, I will come again next week. I hope you eat more during this time. Take good care of your body, Erwin said and turned to leave. Aragog looked at Erwin's back. His eyes were full of hatred, but it has no way to deal with Erwin. It needs to move immediately. Erwin whistled and left the eight-eyed spider's habitat. Make a lot of money today. This much venom can be sold for a lot of money. If you take them all out, you might be able to inflate the eight-eyed spider's venom. And just after Erwin left, a dark shadow appeared where Erwin had been standing just now. Aragog was startled. Look up. I was shocked. Snape. Snape ignored Aragog. Instead, he looked at the bullet casings that Erwin had left on the ground. A wave of his hand. The shell casing simply disappears. Looking at the direction Erwin left, Snape's expression was a little complicated. After a while, Snape sighed, turning to look at Aragog. Watch your mouth. Know what to say and what not to say. Otherwise, I will personally destroy your tribe. Do you understand? Aragog nodded quickly. Snape's figure flashed and disappeared into a ball of black mist. Aragog almost cried. Damn it, their eight-eyed spider offended someone. Move, the King of Heaven is here. They all have to move and leave. On the other side, Erwin did not know that Snape had threatened Aragog. At this time, Erwin was thinking about how his China Unicom company should operate. If this thing is done, it will be of extraordinary significance. At least Owl can be laid off. To be honest, Erwin misses the soup made by the Owl. It tastes really good. If Owl could be laid off, if nothing else, this thing would be able to eat a few more meals. Of course, this is secondary. China Unicom has brought great benefits. If the family wants to gain a firm foothold, it must have a business that is almost a monopoly. If China Unicom can really do it, this business will become the foundation for the Cavendi family to establish itself in the magical world. After returning to his dormitory, Erwin took out the pet egg. Then he dripped the blood of the eight-eyed spider that he collected conveniently. Another 5% increase. Erwin is still very satisfied with the progress. Erwin has asked Hagrid to help him collect the blood of magical animals. There are so many animals in the Forbidden Forest. Erwin felt that the progress bar should be full soon. This pet. Erwin was still curious. Been busy all night. Erwin was also quite tired. After changing the sheets, Erwin lay on the bed and fell into a deep sleep. And at this time, Snape had just returned to his office. Throw the bullet casings collected from the Forbidden Forest in a drawer. Then sat on the chair. Staring at the ceiling with blank eyes, his mind couldn't help but think of Erwin's almost crazy expression in the Forbidden Forest. Whispering, "Is this your true side?" Snape closed his eyes. He just sat in the chair and fell asleep. Friday is a very happy day for all the little wizards. Because tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, 2 days, they will reap the rewards of their vacation. And, most importantly, Saturday will also see the first Quidditch match of this semester at Hogwarts. For Erwin, today is not a special day. Oh, if you really want to say it. Erwin is a little busy today. He's working on his thesis. The paper must be handed over to Professor McGonagall before the dinner. And he also has to be busy getting grades in class. In the whole Hogwarts, he is the busiest. The day's classes are over. Before the end of the last lesson on the history of magic, Erwin finally finished the paper in his hand. Doing 2 things at once is really a waste of your brain. Fortunately, Erwin studied well. So our dear Professor Ghost had no problem with Erwin writing a paper on transfiguration in history of magic class. If it were Snape, well, if it was Snape, Erwin wouldn't dare write it. Before the dinner, Erwin came to Professor McGonagall's office. He handed the paper in his hand to Professor McGonagall. Professor McGonagall took the paper. He glanced at it and nodded with satisfaction. Not bad, but some places are still not detailed enough. And there are some problems with the argument. But it doesn't matter. I can help you revise it, Erwin said, Thank you so much, Professor McGonagall. Fortunately, I have a professor like you, otherwise, I would really feel in trouble. Professor McGonagall was very impressed by Erwin's words. Okay, Erwin, let's go have dinner. Friday night's dinner is often the most sumptuous of the week. I think it will suit your taste. Erwin nodded. Okay, Professor McGonagall. After leaving Professor McGonagall, Erwin was very satisfied with his performance just now. Of course, the loopholes in the paper were left intentionally by him. Otherwise, how to get Professor McGonagall to revise it and add her name to the paper? Jiang-Hu is not about fighting and killing. Jiang-Hu is about human relations. Even if she is as upright as Professor McGonagall, she still has some vanity, and the dragons will compete with each other to see who can collect more treasures, let alone people.
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.